in a not something you see every day kind of move, Carlos Correa has switched from the Giants to the Mets in one of the most wildest, most bizarre, unusual, surprising, insert any word here, situation. And we're going to dive into what happened because this all started yesterday. The precursor was the physical with the Giants, that something had come up. And reading John Heyman's article in the New York Post, he talked about how there was a difference. Scott Boras's wording is that there was a differing opinion on the medical. Was it the Giants getting cold feet? Because there was a lot of money, a lot of years, and Steve Cohen doesn't care. And I didn't say anything, but anybody with an antenna up, you had to kind of feel like this could happen, right? Because at the last minute, it was all about Steve Cohen. He felt bad. He tried to get in on Carlos Correa, but it was too late. All of that, right? And you just kind of felt if the window cracked open a little bit, he was going to come in there and wedge that thing all the way open, and that is exactly what he did in getting Carlos Correa done. Now, he had the fortunate ability of time because he's in Hawaii, so he's like 5 hours below. This broke. We'll pull up the tweet that broke in the news. This broke at 2:38 a.m. It is still getting heavily liked and retweeted and quoted right now. That it was a deal, 12 years, $315 million. On Hawaii time, it's like happy hour still. So that's where Steve Cohen was. Thank you to everybody that is with me live here. We are pushing 8 a.m. on the East Coast as a lot of you are waking up to this news. I woke up to this news about an hour ago, but my family situation, I got the kids, got to get them to school. So thank you to everybody that is live in here with me now. Kyle and Paul, my other members that are in here, John. Guys, this is crazy. And all of the regulars that are here, even if you're not a subscriber or a mod, welcome in, everybody. This is something that I feel, and you're going to have to comment and let me know what you think. Does this change things? We talk about these deals that are announced. There's an agreement reached, but it's not done. We see that all the time, pending a physical. And usually that doesn't matter. Usually the physical's fine. Whatever. It's just a hurdle to clear. And I just wonder if this is going to change some of either the reporting or how the news gets out, or I don't know. I don't know. That may be just me feeling like maybe I'm going too far over the edge, but we have $315 million, 12 years for Carlos Correa to go to the Mets. I want to take a look at the article. That John Heyman put out because dude didn't sleep last night. For everything that we want to give John about the arson judge thing, he had this. He's up overnight on this story. And let's also don't forget the timing of this. What's up, Big Island Bump? Don't forget the timing of this. It was about what? When was a press conference scheduled for? Yesterday afternoon, a few hours before. Giants sent a very odd one-line press conference has been postponed, which is not a very Giantsy thing to do. Just one line. That was it. That's from the San Francisco. I believe it was 570, one of the radio stations out there in sports radio stations out in San Francisco. So you had a very weird start to this whole process, and then hours went by. And then Susan Slusser is able to report that it's not a back thing. And then more time goes by and nothing until 2:30 in the morning on the East Coast. We heard nothing. And you think about it. You have, Jeff Pat, ESPN and CBS and NBC Sports and the local outlets and MLB Network guys, John Morosi and athletic guys. They're all reaching out. They're all hitting the Giants hard. And there was nothing. It was radio silence other than, again, Susan Slusser dug up that it wasn't a back thing. So this was all, the silence of it really surprised me. So this was the story. Carlos Correa agrees to a 12-year, $350 million contract with the Mets. He's got some insight on here. John, again, give John some credit on here. Worked out a middle-of-the-night deal after the Giants deal fell through, the New York Post has learned. something came up on Carlos Correa's medical with the Giants. We still don't know. As of recording, we still don't know what it was. Again, there is a quote in here from Scott Boras that sheds maybe a little bit of light on the situation. Cohen stepped in to do the deal. Again, Cohen, he's like, I just missed him. Damn it, I just missed him. This is the piece we need to go win the World Series, and I just missed him. So when that window cracked open even a little bit, he was right there to jump in. So he gets his deal. He gets this thing going. We have the medical situation fell through. Correa will play third base. We needed one more thing, and that is it. Cohen told the Post from Hawaii that this was important. This puts us over the top. Correa's Mets deal is obviously pending a physical. But here's the situation. I don't think it's going to be an issue because this was the word from Boras. Where was it? Where'd it go? Let's see. Something arose with the medical with the Giants, which caused the deal to fall apart with the Giants. It was said only not to be a back issue, which had cropped up previously. Cohen, who had recently lamented falling short on Correa, worked the deal from Hawaii, where he was with agent Scott. Not in Hawaii with Boras, but that's where Cohen was. I kind of laugh at the idea of Cohen and Boras vacationing together in Hawaii. But it was said to be a 4 to 5 hour period following what Boras termed a difference of opinion over Correa's medical. That is an interesting element to this. A difference of opinion is what threw this thing off. And that's where I get to the whole situation of, did the Giants get cold feet? We kind of picked up where we were before, and that's how Cohen was able to get this deal done. I want to close this page out because I know it is sucking a ton of bandwidth from my screen, so I'm going to get rid of that. So we have a lot of reaction on Twitter to talk about. We have a lot of reaction just in general about this whole situation because this is not what you don't see this. We've never seen this before where a team has a deal done. Listen, I went online. Carlos Correa's Twitter account, I don't know if it still has it, but it had the San Francisco Giants stadium over the background. Does it still? No, it's changed to now just a picture of his family. But last night, I went to bed around midnight, and it had his Twitter account had the San Francisco Giants stadium as the wallpaper. And this morning it is a picture of his family. For those of you who want the really low-tech version of this is, I don't know if anybody can see that. You can't see that. If you can see that, it is Carlos Correa. I took a screenshot because I wanted to see if this thing gets going. What if before anything's announced, that switches from San Francisco to another team, or he takes it down? So as of this man was prepared to go to San Francisco. Carlos Correa did not get cold feet. Scott Boras did not get cold feet. Something happened that made the Giants uncomfortable, and this is just a very unusual thing. Again, something you don't see, but this is going to bring something big to the New York Mets because now the New York Mets are going to be, we don't need that open. Let me do something here. I want to bring something over here because you guys don't need to see me sifting around on some of this stuff. So let's get this running again. Back on track here. The Mets now thinking about where they stand with what he brings to the table is just going to be, phenomenal. You get, when he's healthy, and he has been healthy the last handful of years. Really, the whole Carlos Correa injury, that narrative has slowed down because 2020, he played 58 out of 60 games. He played the majority of the games in 2021. And in 2022, about 140 games in 2022. So we have not seen those long IL stints that we had seen in the past. And that was something that was a concern with Carlos Correa last offseason when he was working on a deal, trying to get a deal done. The worry about his medicals, teams having access to the physicals and medicals and all that from the past. You couldn't get it. You couldn't get access to it unless you were getting a deal done. Paul, thank you for the 11 months, my friend. I do appreciate that. So what happens next? Who leaves? It's a full roster. I got to tell you, and thank you everybody for hitting the like. We are really close to 100 likes. Keep smashing that like, everybody. Let's blow past that like goal. I got to think that the Mets are going to operate with a full depth chart. I mean, do they trade Correa? Is that one of the directions that they go? And that is what, I don't know. Let's see, Mets. I got to pull this up on my phone because, again, we've done this before where I can just feel like my internet's going to crap out today. And I don't want to do that while we're live and you guys are waking up and getting this news. I feel like Eduardo Escobar, is he the piece that goes? He can play multiple positions in the infield, and that's a benefit, right? That is really going to help, especially in a situation like this. It feels like right now they've got Fangraphs has Vogelback as the designated hitter, and I think that if you are choosing, you would probably go Escobar for the bat, for what his bat can be. That would be my feeling on who you actually go with to fill out the roster. Because once you put, it's really not, listen, there's a ton of depth on this Mets team now. But when I look at what the Mets have from a lineup perspective, if I take Vogelback out, Escobar in, and you have a 1 through 9 that is pretty legit, pretty elite. So I feel like you probably, Vogelback's going to lose at-bats here. I think Escobar moves all around the infield as needed, and I think he'll see some time at DH. I think that platoon DH situation of Ruff and Vogelback, that's what you're going to not see now, right? You're not going to see that. You'll see the kids, the prospects, they're going to have to fight for time now. I know Alvarez, you can slide right in there. Alvarez and Narvaez can sort of go back and forth. Nito sort of fits in there. So you have a three options at catcher. But Vientos and Beatty, they're ready. They're gonna have to come in if somebody gets hurt. So you get back to this lineup now. Mets fans felt like we need more. We just need more. What we have is not enough. And I mean, you land Carlos Correa in that situation. It is a great get by the New York Mets and such a disappointing situation for the San Francisco Giants. Thank you, everybody, for hitting the like. We are 1 away from 100. So hit that like and let's blow past the 100 number. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Give me your comments, those of you that are with me live. How does this happen for San Francisco? I mean, I cannot wait. I'm sure we are going to get more information about this whole medical. What happened? What was the hang-up? Nobody is going to let this lie. There's absolutely nobody that's going to just let this, oh, okay. Yeah, so something happened. There is going to be digging done to try to figure out what happened with the physical. I'm just searching on Twitter here to see if anything is going on. We don't have anything new, just more on this. I know the Mets payroll is absolutely insane. I'm really not worried about that, quite frankly. That's a narrative. That's something that you hate, you like, you don't care. So I'm not really that worried about the payroll. It's huge. It is what it is. Steve Cohen doesn't care. We all wish we had an owner that didn't care and operated in that fashion. So there you go. Mets fans, it's good. It's a good day to be alive. So more on this. So we don't have anything other than the only thing that's been put out there. And again, when we're thinking about the major reporters, the verified accounts, the Passons, the Heymans, the Rosenthals, the only thing that's out is that this deal is done. Nobody's even really taken and ran with the fact that the whole situation, that why it fell apart with the Giants, is over a differing of opinion on the medical with what the Giants picked up, and still no information on what it actually was other than it was not a back. Okay, fantastic. Again, welcome everybody. that is just waking up to the news that Carlos Correa is a New York Met, not a San Francisco Giant. And Carlos Correa was fully expected and ready to be a Giant. Last night, I took a screenshot thinking something might happen. Listen, if anybody doesn't believe that, Jim thought something was happening, I took a screenshot of Carlos Correa's Twitter account because the wallpaper at the top, the headline picture, was the San Francisco Giants Stadium. Anybody that's been on his Twitter account recently to the actual main page knows what I'm talking about. Today, it's a picture of his family. So he was prepared to be a San Francisco Giant. I was prepared for something to happen because it was too quiet. It was too quiet after it all fell apart. After it looked like it was falling apart, it was just too damn quiet. Again, welcome in, everybody. Make sure to subscribe, those of you that may be new, and hit that like. We're over the like goal now, so we're going to have to adjust that and get that up to a new number. But as we watch Carlos Correa hit tanks over my shoulder, I want you guys to comment and let me know what you're thinking about this whole situation. 552 of you in here. I appreciate you all coming in. Let's see. While I make a change, it's going to freeze the screen, which is a very unfortunate situation. I would love for that to keep going, but it is what it is. Let's go to 200 on the like goal, everybody, and we'll fire up again some more Carlos Correa hitting tanks. What do you guys got? Let's go Mets from Lamar. How do you even explain being a Mets fan right now? It's almost like everything you want, you're getting. I mean, I'm jealous. I'm not hating on the Mets. I will not do it. I'm jealous. I wish my team could operate in such a fashion. I am absolutely jealous of the situation with New York, in Queens, what Steve Cohen's doing. I want an owner like that. I want an owner that treats this thing like a passion and not a business. And that's what Steve Cohen is doing. So if you don't like it, you may be a little jealous. You may think it's bad for baseball. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. It's bad for the Pirates. It's bad for Oakland. It's bad for Baltimore because, yeah, I mean, they can't spend like this. They can't. Now, here's the good news for any team that's looking at this. Just because you have the highest payroll, go look what happened last year. Just because you have the highest payroll does not mean you're going to win the World Series. Doesn't. And some of the best players in Major League Baseball right now are back in those arbitration and pre-arbitration time periods still. They haven't reached free agency. They haven't reached mega contract status. So that's something that you'll fall back on if you are a fan of these other teams that don't have the money. Now, your window to win will be smaller, but you can still put together a really good team. There's a ton of great talent out there. This is amazing. This is absolutely incredible. And let's throw this out there too for anybody that is not a Mets fan. And I think Mets fans, you have to kind of agree that this will be out there. Carlos Correa is just speedballing his way to being one of the most hated players in Major League Baseball. I mean, this is not his fault. He did not pull the plug on this, but the optics of it, you've got the LA market that hates him. The Yankees don't like him, and now he goes to one of the the in-state rival. They share the city, right? So you've got the Yankee fans are going to crank it up even more. The Dodger fans always hate him. The Giants fans, I think Giants fans are going to be mad at Carlos Correa. Again, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. This is I put this on the Giants. I don't know. We need to know what the medical. We need to know what the medical is on this. What was it that caused the Giants to have concern over the situation? So I think this is something, again, the optics of it are going to look bad for Carlos Correa. But at the end of the day, it's, again, I see John, don't hate the player. I don't think you can hate the player. I think there will be many that will hate the player. And he was already sort of up there as one of the hated players. I think you hate him or love him. And I think there's a whole fan base now that's going to dislike him. And I think you'll also have anybody that sort of is all about, well, you signed a deal, you had that deal, that's what you go through. But also at the end of the day, he kind of didn't have the deal, right? Pending a physical. It was an agreement pending a physical. It was not a contract signed. That's the thing about the terminology here, is it was a contract signed, it was an agreement, not a contract signed. Again, welcome in everybody that is just waking up to the news that Carlos Correa is headed to the New York Mets. We have some tanks going on over my shoulder. Absolutely amazing job by the New York Mets. Last night, I did a way too early power rankings with my guys from Blue Jays Today. Shout out to them. Hit them up if you haven't yet. Make sure you sub them up. But we do a show every Tuesday. We did way too early power rankings. Gave the Braves a slight edge over the Mets. And I think 12 hours later, that needs to be walked back because of the news this morning. Unbelievable. Absolutely crazy to see this go down. You get an impact bat. That is something Mets fans, you coveted, you wanted in the worst way. Again, we talked about the Mets lineup and how it sort of shakes out. It is, you're moving out of the Daniel Vogelbach, Darren Ruff platoon. That's where you were, and that's gone now. I know right now Fangraphs still has, and I'm going to try to pull this up here, Fangraphs still has a situation where, I'm not even going to try. I'm pulling that out before it crashes the stream. You're going to have Vogelbach and Ruff will become, in their own right, a platoon extra bat situation. They won't have a guaranteed spot anymore. So they'll move into, in my opinion, this is just me feeling like you want Eduardo Escobar in there more than you want Daniel Vogelbach. It gives Buck a ton of options. You'll love that if you are Buck. You have a ton of options on this situation now where you can go in any direction that you want. If you want to stack with lefty bats, you can do that. If you got a tough lefty pitcher, get the lefty bat out of there, go with the righty bats. Because you have the same thing going on with catcher. You've got Nito, you've got Narvaez, and I have to think Alvarez is going to fit in prominently this upcoming season. So this lineup is legit. Is absolutely legit. Now, does this satisfy Mets fans your pop requirement? Is a question that I have, because Carlos Correa is not even a 30 homer guy. He's a 20 homer guy. Does this satisfy your thirst for thunder in that lineup? And it may not. It may not. It gives you a winner. You have a great ball player on your team. Absolutely. I think this lineup goes to a whole new level. You still really only have one guy on the team that is a guaranteed 30, 35-plus homer guy, and that's Pete Alonso. Lindor hit 26 home runs last year. Still was one of the most productive offensive players in baseball with just 26 home runs. So I guess you don't necessarily need the four guys in your lineup hitting 30-plus home runs. Look how that's working out for the Yankees. Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, those are all, Gleyber Torres could do it. There's all 30 homer plus guys, and the Yankees have a major roadblock in the way of the Houston Astros. So just get guys that can hit, get guys that can get the job done, and Carlos Correa can get the job done. I really am in a state of wow, and I think a lot of you probably are as well. This is a move that really comes out of left field, right? Comes out of left field. This was a surprising development that I don't know. My question to you is, does this change? Is this going to change things? Thank you to all the new subscribers, everybody, by the way, pushing us over 33.9. We are on our way to 34,000 subscribers. We're about 100 away from that now, a little less. So thank you to all of the new subscribers in here. I appreciate you. How this sort of shakes out is going to be, I mean, again, from a perspective of, I mean, this was not tampering. So let's rule that out right away. There was no tampering going on here. That's not what we had. But we had just, you wonder if there is a knee-jerk reaction that Major League Baseball takes to this because they don't like the optics. They don't like how this played out. That's one thing I'm interested about, is to see how it is. Let's see, what is the Mets payroll plus luxury tax now? Somebody had that on Twitter. I believe maybe it was Passan. Passan has been obsessed with the financials for the New York Mets lately. What is with the Carlos Baerga? Carlos Baerga called somebody. A lot of people are tweeting Carlos Baerga stuff at me right now. I'm not sure exactly why, but I know that Baerga. People cannot throw that Baerga called Correa to the Giants and now want to throw shade at Carlos Baerga, because it's what happened. He agreed to terms with the Giants, and then the Giants, if you want to call it, got cold feet. You want to say they got a little concerned about what was going on with the medicals. Like, that was a thing. He was, again, Carlos Correa had placed the San Francisco Giants wallpaper on his Twitter account. Let's see, the financials of this now for the Mets is, somebody's got to have it. I don't have it off the top of my head, and it's got to be there. Let's see. New York Mets current payroll is estimated to be around $384 million. The luxury tax payments alone will exceed $111 million. Their total payroll projects to be $495 million. And you know they're not done. You know there's still a piece or two. Now, they may shed some salary. They may trade Carrasco. Maybe now that you've done this, there's some other bats that you can trade. So you have and again, that estimated payroll includes pre-arbitration dollars that still have to be laid out, arbitration, the actual arbitration dollars that still have to be worked out and agreed upon. So you've got, as far as that goes, you're looking at to be around $384 million, and with those luxury tax payments going to $495. Wow, that's a lot of money. $111 million on the luxury tax is more than a ton of teams are going to pay alone in their payroll this upcoming season. The Mets are going to pay that in luxury tax payments alone. Steve Cohen doesn't care. Steve Cohen treats this team like his passion. He doesn't treat this team like a business. And I think that is really the difference here. And we all wish we had an owner that did the same thing. I wish mine would do it. I wish the Blue Jays would treat it like it's a passion and not just a business. But when you have a corporation, Rogers, that owns it, what are you going to expect? These guys, you got people that are focused on the bottom line. Steve Cohen is not necessarily focused on the bottom line. I feel like the bottom line is the furthest thing from his mind. Keep hitting that like, everybody. We are creeping up on, well, we're over 200. Let's set a new goal of 300. If you have not hit that like yet, please do that now. Paul, thank you for the 6 months. BALLCAP Nation Gold, do they send Beatty to AAA to become an outfielder? I think that, well, Beatty's got to go to AAA anyway, right? There's nowhere for Brett Beatty to play unless somebody gets hurt. So no matter what, Vientos and Beatty are probably going to start the year in the minors so that they can, maybe work on the outfield, still continue to see pitches, because even as a bench bat, your first options will either be Escobar or Vogelback. And depending on what your catcher situation works out to be, on a day where Nito is starting and Narvaez is on the bench, you late in the game, you may go Narvaez because it's a better matchup. So the bench situation for those players, it's just not going to work immediately. You're going to have to, right? You'll have to start them in the minors to get them seeing pitches. You don't want them to lose their timing. You want to maybe, again, work them into the outfield. So you see that. Adam cannot hit the like button enough. Mets fans, again, tell me what it's like, Mets fans, to live in your world, to live in a Steve Cohen world. This is just an amazing time for you. I think that, listen, I'm not of the opinion that this is bad for baseball, the money that they're spending. I don't think that we have a situation where a player manipulated anything. I mean, we know. I feel like we could all agree that it felt like Correa wanted to be in a major market, and San Francisco is a major market. But I'm talking, he wanted to be in New York or LA. We just kept hearing things about New York and LA. I really didn't believe much of the LA stuff. The New York stuff, especially Yankees, gave me pause for concern for the same reason it sort of put the brakes on anything with the Dodgers. So we have a situation where this works out for Correa, because I, again, truly believe he wanted to be in New York. And here he is. He gets his New York deal. I don't think that any funny business took place. Again, the optics of it are not going to look good. We talked about it earlier. Carlos Correa, this just doesn't look good, but more details need to come out. The Giants need to say something. The Giants have some explaining to do. The Mets, just celebrate. Enjoy it. Kyle, thank you for the donation. I wish the Yankees had an owner like Cohen. The Yankees used to. The Yankees used to. And George Steinbrenner. And now Hal just operates differently. But Correa was ready to be a San Francisco Giant. Again, I've said this a couple times now. For those of you who have been with me for most of the stream, anybody just hopping in, the Carlos Correa Twitter account had the San Francisco Giants as his wallpaper picture. He was ready to be a San Francisco Giant. Last night, I screenshotted it last night before I went to sleep. And this morning, it's a picture of his family. He was ready to be a San Francisco Giant. I was ready for something to happen, because hearing that Cohen was coming in late just kind of felt like, man, you cannot rule anything out as far as the Mets go, because this could always turn around. Does this make the Mets the favorite in the National League now? You could argue Braves. I think out west, Dodger fans and Padres fans want to raise their hand. But I want to know from you. I'm going to start a poll. Does this move make the Mets your favorite in the NL? Does it make it your favorite in the National League? Are they now the favorites in the National League, in your opinion? I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be. I'm more interested to see how many no's there are. It's not necessarily that I want to see. I don't put that poll up because, man, I really want to know. No. I know how this is going to go. But what I'm interested to see is how many no's are there. I am certain the yeses are going to win out. How many no's are there on this poll? Mariah, you have not yet. Not yet. The Braves will certainly be there. The Dodgers are going to be there. The Padres are going to be there. They're all going to battle it out to face the Astros in the World Series. I'm sorry, Yankee fans. That's just, sorry. It just kind of feels like that's what might happen again. Let's see. Paul, what happens when they still can't win a World Series? To take your stepbrothers. Well, I'll say this, Paul. If the Mets don't win, this just shows you what happens when the Mets don't win. Steve Cohen says, hold my nuts. I need to make a deal. He's in Hawaii. He's on vacation. He gets word of this, and he's like, while everyone's asleep, I'm calling Scott Boras, and I'm getting a deal done. This is what happens when the Mets don't win the World Series. If the Mets had won the World Series, we'd all be fine. Correa would be in San Francisco. Justin Verlander would be a Blue Jay. It'd be great for the other teams in Major League Baseball. But this is what happens when they don't. Kyle, you've got Mets-Yankees World Series in 2023. And as a baseball fan, as a baseball content creator, I would absolutely love that. I would love, I don't think much of the rest of the country would, being so New York focused, but I think that is fantastic. I'm a baseball historian. I love the history of baseball. I love the old rivalries in New York, the New York Giants, the Brooklyn Dodgers, the New York Yankees going head to head, those teams. So I don't mind when you have a Subway Series, when you have the two. I don't mind it. I don't want it every year. But I don't mind it. So if that's how it rolls down, then I'm okay with that. What a move. Space City Art, wow, what a turnaround. You're telling me, man. I mean, didn't we all kind of feel like something could happen? And checking in on the poll, I am surprised, guys. It's a little bit closer than I thought. It is 61% yes, 39% no. 38% no. So a little more than a third of you that have voted to this point are in the no category for making the Mets the favorite in the National League. There certainly are some things that need to go right. Verlander's got to stay healthy. Scherzer's got to stay healthy as they age. You wonder if they can make it through the full season. You have Kodai Senga. You got to see how he pitches when he comes over. How does he transition to major league hitting? And listen, there's not a certainty to that. There's not a guarantee to that. It's also, I'm not saying he's going to, I'm not saying Verlander and Scherzer are going to start 10 games each and Kodai Senga is going to have an ERA of 5.5. That's not what I'm saying. But you need to see that because now those are elements that are going to be key components here. I think this lineup is going to mash. I have no question marks about the lineup. I just have some question marks about the pitching that are not about the ability necessarily. It's just about things going right. What is Quintana going to do coming off of last season? It was great last season, but he kind of fell off the years prior. So just a few of those things need to be answered up, and I think for the most part, those should work out in the Mets' favor, and everything will be fine. But to the degree of the Mets' favorite team in the NL, I am surprised that it's almost 40% that have the no on there. Thank you to everybody that has hit the like. We are over the 300 like goal. Let's keep it going. We have over 700 of you in here now. Thank you to everybody. Every 720 plus of you that is here hanging out, talking baseball, reacting to the news, just finding out about the news, looking for an outlet to either vent your frustration or show your appreciation, whatever side you fall on with this. Thank you for coming in. I do appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe, everybody. We are moving our way to that 34,000 subscriber mark. That is our next big goal here on the channel. We need probably about 90 new subscribers, and we will be there. Wow, just absolutely amazing. Mets fans, make sure to subscribe because I have a feeling we'll be talking Mets a lot this year. I have a little bit of a feeling that that's how this is going to go down. Michael, great job, my man. Only one breaking this news right now. I got to give credit to Wardy NYM. Boy was on at 3 a.m. I got to tell you, I don't know. I give him a ton of credit because, like, even if, I mean, it was breaking. My phone was getting the notifications. They were getting, there were text messages. There was stuff coming in, but my phone's on silent mode in the middle of the night. I guess I need to turn it on. My wife isn't going to like that. The phone's just vibrating and blowing up all night long because you need the notifications for everything else that are on as well. So I mean, listen, there's the emergency, right? Maybe somebody got the wind and called him. If you call twice, I think you break through the whole whatever. But I give Wardy credit because he was up at 3 a.m. with this news. Cohen does this on the day of the judge conference. Yeah, I mean, well, technically he's in Hawaii. So it was still, for him, it was still Tuesday. It was Steve Cohen. Oh, Michael's here. Yeah, Farhan is an effing joke. Giants fans, it's a bad day. It's a bad day for Giants fans with this news. I know, Michael. Michael, you were doing your best to wave the flag. Nothing's wrong. Nothing to see here. It's going to be fine. A little bit of a freak out. No big deal. It was just too weird. The silence, the way the press conference was delayed, how nobody could get any information. And again, the baseball reporting world was just beating down on the San Francisco. They probably took the phone off the hook and unplugged the Wi-Fi because the email was probably constant and the phone was ringing off the hook from ESPN and CBS and NBC and all the local reporters, and everybody was calling in. And all we could get from Susan Slusser was that it was not a back issue. Now, in Jon Heyman's report that he put out at 3 a.m., got to give Jon Heyman some credit here because he's up at 3 a.m. getting information. Jon Heyman is in with Scott Boras, so maybe a little bit easier for him to get information with Scott Boras. So you get the information out that, according to Boras, what we know, this is all we know, wasn't a back thing, and it was a difference of opinion on the medicals. That is how it works. That is how it works. What's up, Paul? Have a go on, man. So you have a difference of opinion. What was it? I think we all want to know what was it. And I got to think that Heyman's got to know, but he can't put anything out. That's the only thing I can think. Because, again, Heyman had from Boras that was a difference of opinion, and I would not be surprised if Boras told Heyman, but it's an off-the-record kind of thing. Here's what happened, but it's off the record. You can't say anything. Out of respect for the Giants, I don't want to say anything because, look, Boras wants to do business with the Giants down the road. He wants to be able to keep a relationship with the Giants. He's going to need the Giants when he's negotiating his contracts for other teams. So Boras isn't going to, I don't think Boras is going to have the feeling of blowing the Giants up on something like that. You guys are voting right now. It is about 60-40 on the poll. I want to ask a new poll question. Don't go anywhere. I have a new poll question coming up. And it is about the deal. Are the Mets, let me rephrase that. Let me get the right key. The Mets spending good for baseball? And if you don't care, just don't vote. Is this spending level good for baseball? Yes or no? Comment and let me know. Michael, the deal was killed by the Giants and the fans are going berserk over it. Well, yeah, I mean, that's basically the deal, right? Yeah, yes. It was killed by the Giants. The Giants could have let this go. Whatever came up in the Giants physical will come up when the Mets do a physical, but the Mets are not going to flag it. The Mets are going to yeah, it's fine. Here, where do I need to sign? Just sign it and move on. I don't care. I don't want to see it. Just move on. Yes, 315 for 12. James, thank you for answering Carlos' question there. 315 for 12 is Carlos Correa's deal. So one less year and some less dollars than what was out there with the Giants, which is a little interesting that he gets a less year. I mean, it's basically that's what it was. It took a year off the deal. And that's why the dollars come down a little bit because he took a year off the deal. But, listen, I'm not worried about this money because you have a situation where Scherzer's, some of these deals are short-term deals, right? Scherzer, you got 2 more years. Verlander, you have 2 years, maybe 3, depending on how many innings he pitches in 2024. And if he doesn't hit that inning count, then you're going to move on. So there's a lot of different factors here. So this money, that's a lot of money, and the payroll's really high. But you have deals that are coming off the books in a year or two. So it's not like he's got, 10 of these $35 million contracts and the baseline every year is going to be $350 million payroll with a $111 million tax penalty. My favorite part is watching teams fail in the playoffs, Chad. There will be teams. There will be those that root hard against the Mets because they don't like the spending. They don't like Correa. It's going to be amazing when the Giants and Mets play. It's going to be when the Yankees and Mets play with the Correa subplot there. All of this is going to be just amazing to watch. Let's see. I'd like to know how much these organizations have. They can't all be homegrown funds. Oh, it's a lot of business stuff. I mean, a lot of these guys, they're businessmen. They're rich. They're billionaires. They're billionaires. And just because he's going to put out $500 million this year, the Mets are going to make a ton of money. He's going to make a ton of money. Maybe he loses money this year. Steinbrenner would lose money with the Yankees. But billionaires who are constantly just cranking through, finding new ways to make money, if they lose $100 million, if Cohen loses $100 million on the Mets this year, but they win the World Series, and even if they don't win the World Series, I don't think he's going to care. That's not his mindset. That's the mindset you get for these owners that treat it like a business. And they don't want to lose that money, or they don't have that much money, or they operate. They watch the bottom line. The Mets are not doing it. Wally already has a candle burning in front of Joe Boo. What's up, Wally? I see you. How are you, my friend? I hope all is well. What a situation. Tommy, I get it, but to be honest, the Mets have been trash and a laughingstock my whole life. Finally getting our chance. The Wilpons, I think the Wilpons really drove Mets fans crazy, and this is a whole new era. This is now a Mets team that has to be taken seriously with any free agency rumor, any trade rumor. They're going to find a way to get something done. And if they can't get it done with option A, they're going to go to option B. And option B is probably a really big option as well for them to go get. And that's just different. That's different from how they used to operate. That's different. Joe, the Mets can't even beat the Braves. Well, last year's Mets team couldn't. This year's Mets team is different. This year's Mets team, are we going to say the Mets are better? Offensively, of course. Pitching. You get a full year of Verlander. You hope. I know. But you got, 10 starts from DeGrom last year. You should get more from Verlander. You swap out, you lose Taijuan Walker, you lose Chris Bassett. You're going to bring in Quintana. You're going to you bring in Kodai Senga, and you hope Kodai Senga can pitch well to major league hitters. The Mets are better. I think the Mets are better. So that Mets and Braves rivalry is going to be intense. It's going to be fun to watch. No doubt about it. Wow. Wow. That's all. That's where I'm at. Is just wow. Paul, I love it as a Mets fan, but not sure it's good for baseball. The problem is, I think it's good. Let me put it this way. It's not good for the Orioles and the Pirates and those teams that their payrolls will be less than Steve Cohen's luxury tax. It's not good for those teams because they're not going to be able to spend to compete to this level. I think that one other element to this could be the next time we get to the collective bargaining agreement in 3 or 4 years, this could be something that how the Mets have operated under the current agreement. There are people who are unhappy with it and it doesn't help us there, or maybe nothing. But I think really the impact is on those smaller teams that just don't have the ability to spend like this. The good news for them is that there's a lot of great talent that are in pre-arbitration and arbitration statuses. I mean, the Blue Jays, the best players on the Toronto Blue Jays are in arbitration. The best players for the Orioles are in pre-arbitration. And the Orioles are going to compete. There are a ton of Astros still in arbitration and pre-arbitration, which is why it's going to be years that the Astros continue to operate and play well because of they don't have the massive financial output that is required to keep that team together because so many of those players are so young and they're not making $20 to $25, $30 million a year. So you have that going for you. That helps those teams that they don't have the money, But what that means is you have a smaller window to compete. You have the window of time that those players are in that phase, in that range. And what you need to do what Cleveland does, you need to do what Tampa does. You need to replenish, you need to scout your ass off, because that's where you're going to find your window to win, is that pre-arbitration and arbitration phase, which gives you about 6 to 7 years, and then you have to trade somebody. That's where you have to really win and dominate, is in that range, in those years, because you're not going to be able to compete when those guys get to free agency. You're going to have to trade players away. Cleveland with Francisco Lindor is a perfect example. Oakland with everything they're doing. They were not going to be able to pay Matt Olson. They didn't want to pay Oakland's really cheap. They didn't even want to pay Sean Murphy's arbitration years. This is I mean, wow. So how this works out for baseball, good for baseball, bad for baseball, I think that'll be a split decision. As I can see here with the poll, is the Mets spending good for baseball? 59% say yes, 41% say no. I do have a feeling there are a lot of Mets fans in here, so it's probably a lot of Mets fans voting on that, and that's fine. Let's see, Wally, over, under when the next strike is for a salary cap. Well, the players have to love this. This is what the players want. Carlos, thank you for the 10 months, my friend. Beautiful for baseball when Mets start stinking it. That is from Carlos. Carlos, thank you for the 10 months. The players have to love this, because it is going to just keep pushing the ceiling, right? You want to try to blow the roof off. You want to get that ceiling up. You don't want a low ceiling on the payment, on payroll, and on how much teams can spend. So the players have to love this, because you're thinking that, well, it's going to motivate other teams. You know the Mets are going to spend like crazy, and you know that other teams are going to feel the desire to keep up with the Mets, so they may spend a little bit more than they want. Look at what San Diego's doing. They feel the need to continue to spend because they have to keep up, and they don't want to just keep up, they want to be better than. So you have, this is something the players should be happy with. It's the other owners that are not going to be happy, and those are the owners that Mets fans want to give the FU to, because those are the owners that's Pittsburgh. That is, all of those small mid-market teams that, again, will not even pass $111 million, which is the current penalty that the Mets are looking at. They won't even go to that point. So that is where you have a whole new situation. Let's see the MLB payroll tracker. I'm interested to see this is what I want. This is what I'm fascinated to see. The 2023 payroll tracker. Half the league, guys. Half the league's payroll will probably not exceed what the Mets are looking at. The 26-man payroll. This is the MLB payroll tracker on Spot Track. The Mets are at 276. I'm not sure if they've got the Correa deal in there yet. Again, this is the payroll. This is not accounting for pre-arbitration and arbitration dollars yet. But let's see, we've got 14, 15, 16 teams that are over 100 million. And then a handful of others will creep up there because of their arbitration and pre-arbitration dollars. So at least 10 teams, I think, probably, will have a 26-man payroll below what the Mets penalty of $111 million is going to be, which is just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing that is the situation we're in. Keep hitting that like, everybody. We are about 25 likes away from our goal. Over almost 800 of you in here. I appreciate everybody for coming in. It is 8:50 in the morning here. We are talking about this Mets Carlos Correa situation. A lot of you just waking up to this news. West Coast. Everyone is still asleep on the West Coast, Michael. Exactly. I was just going to say that. The people out west have a rude awakening staring them in the face when they get up. Baseball fans out there, San Francisco fans that went to bed thinking, well, it'll be fine. Pulled up his Twitter account. Yeah, he's still got the San Francisco Giants stadium as his wallpaper for his Twitter account. It'll be fine. I'm going to bed. And this morning, it's of his family, and the word is he's going to the New York Mets. Now, I'll say this. If this was 2:28 a.m. East Coast, so any night owls out there on the West Coast, up till midnight, you had this. You saw this. This was big news. This is just one of those things, again, you look at it and you think about it and where it could go, what it could do, how it impacts just baseball and operations and reporting and everything. It just feels like there could be some ripple effects down the road. 5:50 a.m. out there, Michael. Yeah, we're seeing viewers spike up and down. Viewership is all over the place here on the channel. So thank you, everybody that is coming in. I do appreciate you. Let me see here. I do appreciate you guys for being here and hanging out with us. Tons of pressure on Buck Showalter. I think Buck's going to love this. I really do. I think Buck Showalter is going to absolutely love this situation that he's in. We talked about the rotation. We talked about the lineup. We talked about now what he's got. Two pitchers that he can lean on and rely on, and he's got a opportunity with a lineup where he can just play around and do whatever he needs to do. Outstanding. Just it's crazy. It's crazy, guys. Keep the comments coming. I'm going to check on Twitter to see if anything new is breaking. John Heyman is pushing his New York Post article. Again, I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. Let's see. Steve Cohen, cost of keeping promise to Mets fans doesn't scare me at all, is a new one from John Heyman. John Heyman had the story 3 a.m. with quotes from Scott Boras. Let's see. We're trying. The Mets owner told me by phone to start a half-hour conference about how he could operate with only winning in mind, possibly spending so much money and accept such a large tax hit without seeming to feel any pain. Steve Cohen just doesn't care. Again, he treats it like it's a passion. He's not treating it like it is a business. And that is the big difference here. That is the big difference here, everybody. Mets payroll in Jason, including the situation with the tax. Yes, it is over. It is right at 500. It is right there. Unbelievable stuff. We are over the like goal of 400. Thank you to everybody that hit the like. I think we might have lagged there for a second, but it looks like we are back now. I opened up Spot Track's payroll tracker, and the system got angry. So I do apologize for that. I'm just not going to touch the thing. I'm just not going to touch the computer anymore because I know what it's going to do. Jason, exactly. No, the 111 in tax is going to be, there's probably, most likely, 10 teams. I think it's safe to say 10 teams that will be below that number for their total payroll. I'm pretty certain about that. Michael, Giants need to throw upwards of $400 million at Ohtani. No, that's a good call. You got a situation where that's what you move on to. That's what you move on to. San Francisco fans have to move on. That's where you're at. You have to think about what's next. This is now. We haven't really focused on the Giants. We haven't talked about the Giants. It's a lot of San Francisco Giants fans, other than Michael and a few others that are in here, are probably still asleep. But this is terrible for the Giants. This was the big splash. They got their key player. They got the big addition. And now they don't. And now you come out of an offseason where Mitch Haniger, very nice ball player, that was the big splash. Unless I'm forgetting anybody, that was the big splash. I like Mitch Haniger as a ball player. I think there's good things there. But we have a problem if you're San Francisco and you're going up against the Dodgers and the Padres if this was your big move. San Francisco, do you need to open up the door? I mean, does Farhan need to have a knee-jerk reaction and do something today or tomorrow to address this? Because now what you had planned for is falling apart. William, Mets best team in the NL East, but have to stay healthy. If they don't win the East, they'll be killed. If they don't, the fan base will riot. That is a fact, William. Thank you for that. The fan base will absolutely riot if this team does not win the division. If things fall apart, health is always going to be a concern when you have some aging pitchers. I feel comfortable with Verlander staying healthy. I think Scherzer's probably going to have an IL stint or two, but can you get 25 starts out of Max Scherzer? Can you get 25 starts out of Verlander? If you can do that, minimum, you get Kodai Senga if he can perform at the major league level. You like that. There's just some things that do have to go right, but you're not asking a lot. You're not asking for a lot. You're just asking for Verlander and Scherzer to stay healthy. It's a reasonable ask. And Kodai Senga to be okay against major league pitching. I know there's been talk about trading Carlos Carrasco. I wouldn't do it if I'm the Mets. I know he's got a free agent. He's got a walk year coming up, but I wouldn't do it because I need an insurance policy in case Kodai Senga struggles. I just do. I wouldn't trade Carlos. And if Jose Quintana reverts back to 2021, Jose Quintana, I need an insurance policy for that. So if I'm the Mets, I wouldn't do that trade. I would hold on to Carlos Carrasco. Jim, just as the Skankies and Astros will both be in the World Series. So it's going to be the Mets against the Yankees or Astros. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate that, Dave. If Braves win the division somehow, oh boy. Well, that's what's going to be these teams all year long. From opening day through 162 to game number 162 at the end, the Mets and the Braves, it is going to be all year long. It is going to be all year long. And I can't wait. As a baseball fan, I cannot wait to see that go down. Joe's got the Braves winning the division again. Joe, I mean, the Braves are a great team. And I will say that I would give the Braves the advantage if we have some health concerns. If Verlander gets hurt, if Scherzer gets hurt, if Quintana goes back. If some of those things go wrong for the Mets, they'll be in an uncomfortable spot. They're still going to hit. This offense is legit. And the offense is deep now. If somebody goes down, if somebody big goes down in the Mets lineup, you have depth there and you'll be fine. I argue you could probably take 2 or 3 hits in that lineup and you have enough to replace and get by and be fine. As long as those injuries are not, end of year, end of season injuries. If it's somebody that's out for a month with something, you have enough depth there. Even if, again, 2 guys go down, you have enough depth there to get by and be fine. Let's see. Carlos, is Correa messed up or not? Well, we don't know we still don't know from the Giants. The Giants have some explaining to do. Because what happened? Giants, wake the hell up and come tell us what happened. Because you let this player get away. According to Scott Boras, it was a difference of opinion based on the medical, based on the physical. So what happened? I want to know. Giants fans deserve to know. Why did you move on? And it better be something big. If it's small, we didn't like he had a cracked rib thing back in, 2019 or whatever. And it doesn't look like it properly healed. That's not good enough. That's not enough to blow this up, in my opinion. So is it that the Giants, there was something real there, or did the Giants get cold feet? I think that is a fair question to ask, and we will, in time, hopefully the Giants will shed some light on the situation. Again, the word from Scott Boras in John Heyman's piece at 3 o'clock in the morning was that there was a difference of opinion on the medical from the physical. And Obviously, this Mets deal is also pending a physical, but I have a pretty good chance that whatever held up the Giants deal will not be holding up the Mets deal. William, what happens? Cohen, Slipper, the Giants, doctor, a big fat bag? Maybe. Yeah, Farhan, so I just got done with this, with the physical for Carlos, and you're not going to like this. He's got an enlarged pinky toe that in a year could burst, and you're going to have a guy with 9 toes. Farhan, what? The hell no. Get me out of this thing. I don't, something that's a funny thought that, I don't know. Maybe Steve Cohen's like, I need this guy. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. Let's see. Cohen is too good a businessman to pay a hurt player, Paul. And what I think is probably the deal here is, again, Carlos Correa is not hurt. There's something that the Giants didn't like, but is not a factor as to whether he's going to be on the field. It's something that the Giants were like, whoa, this is a lot of money. This is a lot of years. I don't know. What does this do moving forward? Think about the ramifications. Let's see. D. Garcia, per HIPAA, the Giants won't disclose what they found. They'll probably just say they found something. I think the Giants have to say. That's a good point. The Giants have to say something. I feel like the Giants have to say something. I don't know what, but the Giants owe it to the fan base, in my opinion. I don't know. Gates of Above, thank you for the donation. $20 dono from Gates of Above. Thank you, my guy. I appreciate that. You come through big time. As a Mets fan, last year was a letdown. But incredible 101 wins is nothing to laugh at. We just didn't win it at the end. 2 teams in our division won 101 games. This year, Phillies won't be bad at first half. It's going to be a fun division. Gates, thank you for the donation. Everybody live in the chat, give Gates some love. Give Gates some hype in the chat for that one. I appreciate that, my guy. That's a big one. No, you need to continue to get better, right? You just went up against the Braves. The Braves, Dansby Swanson out, Sean Murphy in. And a lot of young talent that's getting better. So the Mets had to keep going. I like what they did. I like what the Mets did. It's going to be an amazing division with those 3 teams. It's going to be unbelievably competitive, and the Mets are doing their best to try to set themselves apart. That was a tough go, but again, I kind of jokingly said earlier, this is what happens when the Mets don't win the World Series. This is what Steve Cohen does. He goes on a warpath in the offseason, and this is how we get to this point. Thank you, Gates, again. I appreciate that. DeAndre, there for some reason, maybe there we go. DeAndre Falcon, Phil Jackson said it best. That team over there knows how to lose. Doesn't matter who's on the team. Go Braves. DeAndre, thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. I will say this. I don't know if you can. Here's what I'll say, DeAndre. Carlos Correa knows how to win in the postseason. I think we can all agree on that, right? Carlos Correa knows how to win in the postseason. That's huge. You get a leader like that. We have seen Justin Verlander, I know, have his World Series struggles, but you got a lot of postseason experience there. Max Scherzer has won in the postseason. There are players on this team that have won in the postseason, and you're adding to that with Carlos Correa, so you're adding to that familiarity with those situations. You have guys that have won. You have guys that have reached the pinnacle with Scherzer and Verlander and Correa, and I'm sure there's more that I'm just forgetting. So I will say that they do have guys that know how to win. Max and William, Dead Art Max in October. Got to make sure. Listen. Buck's gonna let Max do whatever Max needs to do. Max's complaint was that the Dodgers started to, they were worried about his innings, worried about his arm, and in the end of the day, that hurt him more than it helped him. The Mets and Buck, we're not going to do that. They're going to let Max manage his body, and for Mets fans, for Max Scherzer fans, you're going to hope that he's able to work his way through that and not have any injuries or dead arm issues. Get the injuries out of the way during the summer, and then crank it up and go full full go in the fall. DeAndre, so do the Braves. Very good point. No, very good point. And that's why this is going to be great. That's why this is going to be great. Just like you said, yes. The Mets and the Braves, you've got guys, and obviously the Braves just won it 2 years ago. So they went through the process just recently. More to your point, DeAndre. No doubt about it. The majority of this Braves team went through it. Now they have lost 2 key pieces from that club, Dansby Swanson and Freddie Freeman, but there's still enough there, right? There's still enough there, I think, to feel comfortable with that. Let's see. Dave, you saw Wardy's stream, and he was literally in tears. He was so happy. So was I. I mean, Wardy's up at 3 a.m. When I woke up, I got the news. I hopped on. I was like, and the first thing I thought was, did Tyler go live at 3 a.m.? And I pulled up the stream, and I watched the first couple of minutes of it, and then I had to get the kids ready and get them off on the bus and get down here. So I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. But all the credit in the world to Tyler for being up at 3 a.m. and live streaming for this. I mean, this will go down as, is this the biggest story of the offseason? I mean, I know Judge with the Yankees and that whole thing, but I feel like this is the biggest story of the offseason. Signing with the Giants. Medical problem. Middle of the night, the Mets swoop in. This feels like this is the biggest story of the offseason. So good for Wardy on being there for that. Let's see, John, who got the better deal, Judge or Correa? Well, Judge got the higher AAV, shorter years. Correa got longer years. Who got the better deal? They both got great deals. I don't know if you can necessarily say one got a better deal over the other. I think they both got incredible deals. The money both going over $300 million. They both got great deals. Yes, biggest story of the year. Not just the offseason. This could be the biggest story of the year, Michael, for sure. Absolutely. Raul, imagine Cohen still gets Ohtani next year. Well, does it ever stop? Will it ever eventually stop is the question, I guess. Will the Mets ever slow down? I don't know if that's possible. Guys, we are at 447 likes. Thank you to everybody that has hit the like. I would love to see if we can get to 500. So keep that like button going. Hit that like if you have not yet. I do appreciate it. Close to 600 of you in here as people are hopping in and out, waking up to the news in different parts of the country. Some of the West Coasters are going to start waking up. The 6 a.m. wake up out west is going to be a rough one for Giants fans. Raul, again, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that. Ohtani, if you throw Ohtani on top of this team, you can't rule it out. You cannot rule it out. You just can't. I think that the Mets are going to be in on Shohei Ohtani. They're going to be in on Shohei Ohtani big time. And I can see them doing the deal. I totally can see them doing it. Especially when you have $40 million coming off the books from extras the year after. They'll be in there. They'll be in there. Michael, the check bounced. I think the check bounced right off of Correa's, wrist and gave him a paper cut. And because of that, the medical came up poor and the Giants bailed out of it. Let's see. Giants have some horrible luck this offseason. Has this been, from the Giants' perspective, has this been the worst offseason that you can even think about? Like, how does it get any worse than this? Aaron Judge, going to come home, flirting with you guys, showing up in an airport or wherever he was. And he's going to see some family. He's got some business to take care of, wink, wink. And then he goes back to New York, even though the Giants were willing to spend more. And then when it looked like they're going to lose out on some of these players, you get the Carlos Correa splash, and then that falls apart. Just Giants. This is a tough one. I'm reading the chat, guys. Felix, who cares? The Giants should have stayed in New York then. The Giants had the money. let's not get confused about the financial situation for the San Francisco Giants. They had the money. They still have money. Now the problem is there's nobody left. So the Giants had money to spend, and I don't know. They obviously did not think this could happen. If you are Farhan, if you are the Giants, you obviously have to think that this was never going to happen. And from, again, a Giants perspective, if you are a player, does this ever creep up into a player's mind when they are thinking about signing with the Giants? The Giants have a weird medical thing that they go through, and you could sign a deal and then it could fall apart. Because for Carlos Correa, luckily for him, the Mets were sitting there ready to pounce. Other teams, other situations, other players, maybe there is no safety net right there to swoop in and grab you. And if you're a player, you sign, maybe it's one of the you come to an agreement. It is announced that you're going to agree with the Giants, and then you're going to have to go through the medical process. And while that medical process is going on, the two other teams that were in on you make other moves, sort of how the Cubs go out and got Dansby Swanson. The teams make other moves, and then all of a sudden the Giants are like, don't like it, sorry. And they back out of the deal, and then either you re-enter the market and you're in a bad spot. Will players remember this? Will the Giants become known in the player community as those guys? And that's the last thing you want. That's the last thing you want if you are a San Francisco fan. If you are the Giants organization, you don't want to be known as the guys with the stringent medical process, and they'll use it to try to get out of a deal, and however it gets spun, you don't want that, because when the big free agents are out there, they may choose somebody else. If the money's the same, they may choose somebody else because they don't want to go through that. Steve Cohen is a modern day Steinbrenner. It basically is. He basically is. Yeah. That's what you're going through. But again, just because you spend the money doesn't mean you're going to win the World Series. I think it gives you a good chance to. But there's so much talent at the lower level. And this is not a hate on the Mets take. Please don't think that, anybody. But there's so much talent in those pre-arbitration and arbitration phases of their careers and financial situations that teams can put together really. I mean, Houston, if you want an example of that, Houston. So many of those players are in arbitration and basically the whole rotation outside of McCullers is either in arbitration or pre-arbitration. And you're able to build a team without having to spend the insane amount of money that it would take to sign those guys if they were free agents. Dave, thank you for the super chat. I've been a Mets fan since 1967, and I've never seen this before. It's great. Cohen teaching other teams how to compete. Yeah, no, I don't think nobody, this has never been seen before. Thank you for the donation, Dave. I appreciate that. Hype in the chat for Dave with a $10 donation. This has never happened before. This is not, and this may never happen again. And MLB may put protocols in place so that this does not happen again. The Giants are the ones that shot themselves in the foot, right? They just don't schedule a press conference until everything is done. Don't do it, because that's what made this public. I don't think this happened and Scott Boras started calling around teams. I don't think that happened. I think Scott Boras still wants to be able to do business with the Giants and other teams. So I don't think Scott Boras did that. I think what happened is this got out there that the press conference was postponed because of a medical issue, and there you go. It's open season on Carlos Correa for teams to start calling Scott Boras. If the Giants had played this closer to the vest, maybe there's a different outcome. But the Giants made it public on their own. The Giants fumbled this in so many ways. It's embarrassing. And again, Giants fans are going to be waking up to this news this morning and you're like, how the hell did this happen? And the best answer is the franchise fumbled the ball in a major way. And the Mets were there to jump in. And does this have ramifications moving forward? Does MLB put protocols in place at the next, collective bargaining agreement? Do players look at the Giants and say, yeah, but you did this thing to Carlos Correa. The money's the same over here, so I'm going over here. Does it make it harder for them to sign free agents? Does it make it more difficult when they're when they're one of the finalists? But again, the money's the same, the winning opportunity's the same. If you're looking for difference makers when a decision is being made, this might loom. Guys, it's just bad news. Bad news all the way around. And, don't blame the player. I have to listen. I have my feelings about Carlos Correa, and it changes by the day. Sometimes I'm a Carlos Correa fan. Sometimes I'm not. At the end of the day, he's an amazing player. But you can't hate the player on this. If there's any hate or frustration to be placed, it's in place of the Giants, not the Mets. You should applaud the Mets. It's exactly what you want your fan base to do, your franchise to do. Paul, thank you for the donation. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks for the hours of entertainment. Paul, thank you for the support. Thank you for the hours, days, weeks, months plus of support that you've given the channel, Paul. I appreciate that. Lamar, thank you for the donation. I have a feeling there was probably supposed to maybe be a comment with that, so I will keep an eye out on the chat, Lamar, for that. If you meant to attach a comment with that, I'll keep an eye out for it. But the Giants are where you place your frustration, your hate, your blame, whatever it is. Again, let's give some hype in the chat for Paul, too. $25 donation. I do appreciate that. That is where you're at. It has to, your frustration, your hate, your anger, your emotion, that any negativity needs to be solely pointed towards the Giants. You can't blame the player. The player was ready to be a Giant. You can't hate the Mets. The Mets saw an opportunity and they absolutely jumped and ran with it, and they got the deal done. Good for them. Necron, I'm only angry at the Giants. No one else. They keep making promises and keep lying to the fans. It's all about the Giants. The anger, the frustration, the disappointment has to go to the Giants. Felix, how do you lose out on Soto, Judge, and then Correa? Does the GM need to go in San Francisco? I don't think Farhan's got to go. I think this is not going to help. Soto was a wild situation. Judge he wanted to stay in pinstripes, and apparently pinstripes run thicker than blood, right? You could have gone home, could have gone to the family, could have gone to the team you rooted for, but he stayed in pinstripes. So I think that you have that, I don't necessarily blame Farhan for the Judge thing. I don't blame him for the Soto thing. That was wild, the Soto sweepstakes. This certainly, and maybe it's not Farhan, maybe it's ownership. Ownership was like, we're not spending that money if that's in the medical. Lamar, thank you, my guy. I appreciate that. I'm glad we're not the Yankees' little brother no more. So happy to have Uncle Steve as our owner. Let's go, Mets. Lamar, you got to love it. You got to love it. This is exciting. This is an exciting day for Mets fans. Congratulations. I'm jealous. I wish my team would do this. But it's not going to happen. We all wish our teams would do this. So I don't think there can be too much hate, if any, placed in the Mets' direction, because this is what we want our franchise to do. And again, who's it going to hurt? It'll hurt the smaller teams that can't spend the kind of money that the Mets spend. But even as I say that, so much amazing talent. So a lot of that Houston talent, arbitration and pre-arbitration. The Orioles are almost exclusively arbitration and pre-arbitration, and they're going to compete in the American League East next year. The Blue Jays have a little bit of both, some arbitration guys and some contract guys. You can still compete without spending $500 million, which is what the Mets are looking at when you add in their penalty. Lamar, thank you for the donation. I do appreciate that. Let's see, John, enjoy the Mets fans while the money is still there until you're first. Well, here's the Mets fans. This is, again. If the team doesn't win, this is what happens. Basically, Steve Cohen sets the offseason ablaze if they don't win, because it's unacceptable to him. And again, that's one more element. If you're a fan, you wish your fan base would do. We just lost? Unacceptable. Yankee fans, this is what you wanted Hal to do and Cash to do, right? You got Rodon, that's great. You bring Judge back, that's great. Rizzo's back, great. But how much? I mean, the lineup isn't really much better, so you're going to hope that the young guys get better. There's going to be regression from Judge. There's going to be, unless he hits 63 home runs next year. So you're going to see Judge hit less home runs. Even if it's 55, that's 7 less. That could cost you a game or two. My point is, the Yankees lineup hasn't gotten much better over last year. And I think you really need a Benintendi. The pitching is better with Carlos Rodon. That's great. The Mets have gone out and addressed all of it with Correa. They've addressed the hitting. They've addressed the pitching, the starting pitching, and the bullpen. This is what you want your franchise to do. And you cannot hate that. Let's see. Big John Tech Review. Thank you for the donation. Houston fan here. Jeremy Pena said, "Here, Mets, hold my beer. LOL. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Jim, and loving your channel." Thank you, Big John. I do appreciate your support. I thank you for that donation. Thank you so much. Let's give John some hype. Give Dave. Dave, did I miss you? Dave, I'm sorry. I almost missed that. I almost missed it, Dave. I got you, though. Get Liam Hendricks and Michael Conforto and call it a day. You want more? The Liam Hendricks thing is interesting. I only worry about Liam Hendricks for the Mets. And again, Lamar, thank you for the dono. I only worry about a Liam Hendricks thing because he wants to close. I don't know if Liam Hendricks can veto any trades. I don't have that, fresh in the memory banks, his contract situation. But he wants to close. He's not going to close, right, with New York. So what does that do to the mindset? We've seen players go, and if they're not closing, they're not the same guy. We've seen that many times. And how would not closing affect Liam Hendricks? Maybe not at all. Maybe big time. Maybe somewhere in between. But I would be interested in that, seeing how that plays out. I love that you got Ottavino back. One Take Robbie, thank you for the donation, my guy. As a Yankees fan, I'm not even sure how to feel about this, but how do you feel like the Mets stack up against other NL teams, Dodgers, Padres, and Braves? As a Yankee fan, I feel like look at it as motivation. What are the Yankees? So I'm gonna address this in two parts. It's a great question. One Take Robbie, thank you for the donation. Thank you for putting that on the radar. So Yankees and Mets, you are not in the same division. You're not. You got American League, National League. It's all separate, but you are in the city. And I know it's different. You got the Bronx, you got the Queens. I get it. But New York is where you're competing. And the Yankees, Brian Cashman, the fact that Brian Cashman has been there for so long, the fact that Hal Steinbrenner, it's the Steinbrenners, there's lineage there. They do not want to be in a spot where they start to fall behind the Mets in terms of the city. That's something that, if you're thinking about it from the Yankees' perspective, if you get into a war, a battle for New York, the Yankees have to do something. And so does this motivate the Yankees? Probably not right now, but maybe long term. Maybe this becomes something that we see over the next 3, 4, 5 years where the Yankees say, we can't, we have to stay ahead of the Mets. Maybe this is something that motivates the Yankees moving forward. Maybe not. But that's something to, I think, consider at least. And then, how do I feel like the Mets stack up against the other National League teams, Dodgers, Padres, and Braves? We were talking last night. Me and the guys from Blue Jays Today did a way too early power rankings. I had the Dodgers behind the Mets as it was. Same with the Padres. I had the Padres and Dodgers behind the Mets. The Braves, I had narrowly edging out the Mets because my feeling was this. The Braves had some questions on certain areas, but the questions were not as impactful as the questions I had for the Mets. So I gave the Braves a slight edge. With this move, I think I'm going to flip-flop that because it was so close to begin with. They're both A-plus teams. Don't get me wrong. They're both A-plus teams. But I think that right now, with this move and with this ownership, I think you have to put the Mets ahead of the Braves, even if it's slightly, because what's going to happen is this: even if on paper you want to say, well, the Braves are better here, the Braves are better there, if we get to June and the Braves are on paper and showing that they're better, what's Steve going to do then? The fact that you have an owner that is always going to do something more, I think also plays into it, because he's not going to rest. He's not going to rest. A couple more super chats coming in. Let's see here. Let's see. Mr. Mike, it's amazing the response Cohen had to DeGrom. I did see that. Mr. Mike, thank you for the donation. Dave, how's DeGrom's vision now? Dave, thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. Cake or death. Appreciate you, Jim. I cried with Tyler this morning. For decades, my Mets were owned by the Dodgers fans who actively hated our team. It's just amazing to have a fan holding the wallet right now. And that's, it definitely feels like a different time. It feels like, I mean, it started last year, but this year, they really kicking the door down, right? Really kicking the door down. Cake or death, congratulations is what I could say to you. Congratulations. As a baseball fan, I am looking forward to watching every single Braves and Mets game. I want to watch them all. I want to see the Mets against the Giants. I want to see the Mets and Dodgers. I want to see, I'm going to be watching a lot of Mets games this year. I have a feeling. So I am looking forward to everything that the Mets are going to be doing. They are turning into something that you're going to want to watch. If it helps the ratings go up, then that's good for baseball. Getting back to the question of, is this good for baseball? If the Mets are bringing the ratings up, it's good for baseball. Baseball, what's today? It's a Wednesday. Baseball is going to dominate the headlines today. That's good for baseball. We're in December. We're a few days away from Christmas. The free agent pieces are off the board. But baseball is going to dominate the news today. How often did you see the AP, the Associated Press, not Associated Press Sports, Associated Press News, tweet out about or put a story out? I saw it on Twitter first. Put a story out about Carlos Correa, about a baseball player. That's AP. That's world news. That's political news. That's big stuff on a much larger scale. They're the ones that really broke this. And then it went nuts after that. Not the Mets thing, but the Giants physical thing. So this is, from a headline perspective, no, if you're looking at it like, man, it's bad news, no, there's no such thing as bad PR. This is a day where baseball is going to dominate. Talk shows that are going to be coming up today are probably going to be talking about Carlos Correa. They don't typically talk about baseball. I have to think that this will pop on Le Batard's show. That this will pop on, I'm totally blanking on the name. I know Dan Patrick talks baseball all the time. I don't know how many of you listen to Dan Patrick, but you've got all of these programs that are primarily, they talk all sports, but they focus so much on football, especially this time of year, and they'll talk about basketball. Baseball is going to be on the radar today. I think this is a good day for baseball. Keep hitting that like, everybody. If you have not, we're at 520. I do appreciate you helping us get over the like goal. I'm here for a little bit, folks. This is the beauty of this one, is I'm just here to hang out and react with you as you all wake up and get the news. We'll adjust the like goal to 600. Keep hitting that like. Payroll, you can't rule it out, right? You can't rule it out. The Mets are going to be in on Ohtani. And this just solidifies that Cohen is going to spend whatever it takes to get that deal done, because he'll have money coming off the books. He'll be able to throw as many bags at Ohtani as is necessary, because he'll be able to, even if it does get to a point where he starts thinking about money, he'll be thinking about, well, I got Scherzer coming off the books in a minute. I could do that. I can give Scherzer's AAV over 10 years because I got Scherzer coming off the books. I'm used to spending that Scherzer money. So for 1 year, I got a double dip between Scherzer and Ohtani. Fine. Carrasco will be coming off the books at that point. Maybe there's another piece that you trade to get a little bit, you save a little bit of money here and there. But I don't even know if he thinks about that. I don't even think he cares about any of that. I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Again, Kick or Death, you were the last one in. Good. Make sure to subscribe, everybody, too, if you have not yet. We have 740 votes on our poll. Is the Mets spending good for baseball? 60% say yes, 40% say no. That's about the same percentages for our first poll that we put out there when we talked about what do the Mets, are the Mets your favorite in the National League now? We had 60% yes, 40% no. Sports Hulk is shocked. It is shocking. It is shocking. It's a good job. It's a good job by the Mets. The more I'm talking about it, the more we're talking about it. It's a good job by the Mets and Steve Cohen. Yoki is the name. Thank you for the donation. Should Farhan Zaidi be fired enough through... Hold on. Should Farhan Zaidi be fired even though none of this is his fault? No, I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised if this came from ownership. I would not be surprised if the owner was like this. Think about the Giants for a second. Think about it. Judge, yeah. Judge, yes. Spend the money, go crazy. Carlos Correa, you're spending the same kind of money. I think Giants ownership was probably a little... Farhan probably pushed hard for it. It was like, no, we got to do this. We were just going to spend the money on Judge. We have to spend the money on somebody. Correa in the postseason is amazing. He's a great defender. We have to do this. And Farhan convinced the owners. And the owners were like, well, but if one thing comes up in that physical, we're done. And Farhan's like, fine, it'll be fine. And then they did the physical. I feel like this is more on the owners than it is on Farhan. Haymaker King, Giants fan here. Best news I've heard all season. Giants fans, you know what? There may be some Giants fans that are happy about this because of the years that were thrown at him, because of the dollars, and maybe you just didn't like him in general. I think that there may be some Giants fans that wake up and they're breathing a sigh of relief. But again, the Giants don't do these kinds of moves. When you think about it, you don't see these kind of Correa-type moves by the San Francisco Giants that often. And so, yeah, this is something that they were going to go through that physical with a fine-tooth comb because this isn't their norm. And when it's not your norm, there's just some uneasiness to it. You know, think about it. Think about your own financial situation. If you extend yourself a little bit more than you're comfortable with, than you're used to, even if you have the means to do it, you're going to be a little uneasy with that purchase at first. We're all spending a crap load of money right now for the holidays, right? We're all overextending ourselves maybe a little bit on the finances, but we're like, it'll be okay. But if one of your expensive gifts you get and you realize that it's defective in any way, and you're like, well, I was just looking for an excuse to return this thing anyway, you're going back to the store and you're getting your money back, and you can maybe go get something else that costs a little bit less because you realize after you made that purchase that it was a little bit more than I wanted to spend. That is basically what happened to the San Francisco Giants. They went holiday shopping. They bought the big Keurig machine, the $300 guy that makes like 6 cups at one time. And then they realized, well, did we really need one that makes 6 cups and brews it in 5 seconds? And then that thing cost, I don't know. And then you get home and then you realize the box has a dent on it. And like, it's going back. This is the only thing I needed to return this thing. And they run it back, and then they go and they pick out the Keurig machine that makes 1 cup of coffee, and it's a $100 thing. Just felt like the Giants were living that life, that real life example that many of us go through, when, especially this time of year. Willard, thank you for the donation. Ohtani or Machado to the Giants next year, 100. I think that the Giants have to make, after this, the Giants are going to have to make a serious push for Ohtani. Absolutely. But again, the finances are going to be extreme, and are they going to be comfortable with it? And will Ohtani, I get back to this, what are players going to think? If Ohtani's like, okay, the Giants are going to give me 10 at 40, the Dodgers are going to give me 10 at 40, the Giants also have some more incentive stuff that could get me up there, but the Dodgers don't. But the Giants, the whole Carlos Correa situation last year was weird. I could sign this deal with the Giants, and then the Dodgers could move on and sign Machado, and then that Dodgers contract's not there for me anymore. I'm just going to take the Dodgers contract. You think about how easy it is to get to that point. So that's where this could hurt the Giants long term, because that's real. Real life stuff, I think, sometimes comes into this. So you have to make that decision because, look at what happened. Since Carlos Correa came to an agreement with the Giants, the Cubs came off the board. Now, luckily for him, the Mets had not, after the Correa thing, went out there and grabbed, let's say, I don't know. Let's say that Bogarts had also still been available. That the Mets didn't pivot to Bogarts. And then Correa has this go down, and the Cubs and Mets are both off the board because they made moves. And he's here sitting there like, wait a minute. I just lost my $300+ million deal, my 13-year deal. It's gone, and there's nobody left. So I got to think that comes into play. I also think the Giants, again, fumbled this big time. There's no reason for this to be as public as it was. The only reason why it was public is because they scheduled a press conference before the T's and I's were squared away. Right? You did not have everything done. Schedule the press conference. It'll be fine. Wasn't fine. And then you had to delay the press conference. And then people started asking questions. Well, what happened? Oh. And then the Mets, Steve Cohen gets wind and picks up the phone. Because he was so close. He was trying to get something done late. That's the situation. Willard, thank you for that donation. I do appreciate it. Now, I got to move that because there's a graphic that shows up on that. Now, the World 138. As a Dodger fan, I'm disappointed he didn't sign with the Giants. The Giants being good makes us try harder. Iron sharpens iron. Now, the World, thank you for that donation. I was looking forward to, I'll be honest, I was looking forward to that Dodgers and Giants rivalry with Carlos Correa playing more games at Dodger Stadium. I was looking forward to that because that is just lighter fluid on a fire when Carlos Correa is playing in Dodger Stadium. I was looking, and you threw him into that rivalry between the Giants and the Dodgers. I was rooting for that. I was looking forward to that. That's not going to happen now, but as a consolation prize, a rather good one, by the way, we now get Mets and Braves, and that's going to be wonderful to watch. Phillies, yes, will creep in there, but Mets and Braves, they battled last year, right? The Braves made the comeback after the Mets had a huge lead, and they both finished with 101 wins. I think that we're going to have a fun run between those two teams specifically. That's where the rival just feels like it is the most heated right now. Oh, man. Struggle, you're number 550. Keep hitting that like, everybody. We are 48 likes away from our adjusted like goal. Keep hitting that like. Make sure also to subscribe if you have not yet. Working our way to 34,000 subscribers. Right now the count's 33,937. So we're about 63 away from 34,000. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. Baseball's what we do here, and I've accumulated almost 34,000 subscribers in a couple of years, 2.5, I think, two since I started talking. The first year was me just doing videos and highlight clips. I started talking 2 years ago, and since I started talking, I've got about 30,000 subscribers. So I don't know. I guess maybe I'm entertaining, or you agree with me, or something. So I think something's going right, and I'd love for you to be a part of our community. So make sure to subscribe if you have not yet. Let's see. Mets going to win the World Series with that rotation. Niners all damn day. I've seen you in the chat for a while, Niners all damn day. Thank you for hanging out for as long as you have. Again, thank you, CWE and Ratchet and Felix, Carlos. There's more of you. Thank you all that have been hanging out here for some time. I do appreciate it. We're an hour and 43 into this stream. So thank you all for being here. I do appreciate that. Let's see. How can this happen? Did the Giants void and he took the Mets offer? Desmond, what happened is that it was an agreement. It was not a signed contract that was reported, and that was broken by Passan and Heyman and all those guys last week, is that it was an agreement, not a contract signed. So the agreement was pending, as always, a physical. And that's where this fell apart, because if that physical doesn't look good, done. The team can get out of that agreement. And the Giants and Carlos Correa's camp, Scott Boras and crew, had a differing opinion on the physical, and the problem is the word got out. The word got out to the universe, and Steve Cohen, hanging out in Hawaii, jumped and got in and got the deal done. Unbelievable. Wally, you were putting on another candle for Joe Boo. Let's see. I'm actually okay with this. Crawford is our dude. Where you had a comment earlier that I was looking at. Mets going to win the World Series with that rotation. That was what I wanted to talk about. I like this rotation. I need everybody healthy. I need Kodai Senga to be able to pitch well in the major leagues. I want to see the Mets get out of that first round. So lock up that 1 or 2 seed. I want that for you Mets fans, and I got to have it healthy. And the beauty of having the multiple aces at the top is if somebody goes down, you have some security. And this is an example of what happens when the Mets don't win. They don't win, they're going to do something about it, right? So you get into late June, early July, start creeping up on the trade deadline. If Scherzer has gone down or if Verlander has gone down and there's time to make a trade will be made. This is about as extreme a World Series championship or bust situation that we've seen with the New York Mets. Let's see. Carlos Correa won't last for 12 years. I don't think so. Well, third base should see a little less wear and tear than shortstop, so that should help. And you've got the DH. You've got the DH that you can go to. What does his injury history, if that rears its ugly head back again as he gets into his late 30s, that's something the Mets are going to have to deal with, for sure. That's a good point. Correa won't last 12 years, Wally. That's why you're lighting the candle. And Niners, there's your point. I made that point earlier too, and you're making it again right here, right now. Correa is average power. We needed someone like Judge. That was what I was talking about. I think maybe an hour ago we touched on that. I know Mets fans wanted thump. They wanted thunder in that lineup. And you don't get that. You don't get that with Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa is a 25 homer guy. There's only one guy in that lineup that you know is going over 30, and that's Alonso. Everybody else is, you're like, well, Lindor, even if he's hot, 26, 27. Same with Correa, 26, 25, 26. You don't have the thunder that you were looking for. Doesn't mean you won't go out and get it if it's needed, but you're going to hit. You're going to score a ton of runs. And if you don't hit home runs, look, I mean, the game's going to be different next year as it is without the shift. So maybe this will be the way to go, and you won't necessarily need the home run because you won't have to be hitting it over all 9 defenders that are all on the right side of the field. So maybe it won't matter as much. We're going to see how baseball plays out with the shifts and everything, but I'm still going to say the Mets are going to be one of my favorites. I have to take a look at everybody. We have to go through the rest of this offseason. We have to see the trades that go down, but I can already tell you the Mets are going to be one of my favorites. The favorite, got to wait and see how everything plays out. Let's see. Paul Showalter said he wants contact hitters. He said more home runs equals more strikeouts. Yeah, Buck's going to love this team. Buck is going to absolutely love this team. We had Dusty Baker win a World Series finally last year, and we may have Buck do the same. Because Buck, somebody might need to remind me if Buck won one with the Yankees. Did Buck win a championship with the Yankees? That's escaping me right now if he did or not. I want to check Twitter to see if there's anything else reacting to what is going on here. ESPN is putting up a story about it. Jeff Passan with the story. Shelfie. Shelfie's a good dude. I like his content, so I have the notifications turned off from him. He's asking what happens with Brett Beatty. Brett Beatty going to the minor leagues. Brett Beatty probably going to practice some outfield. You've got not much else going on here. We need one more hitter. Steve Cohen told me on a call at about 3 a.m. this morning in Hawaii. So, I mean, give For all the crap, deservedly so, that we've all given Jon Heyman, got to give him some credit today. Got to give Jon Heyman some credit. I think he earned some of his credibility back. Some of you probably never lost credibility. Some of you probably threw him out the window and never wanted to hear from him again. But at 3 a.m., he breaks the story. He's talking to Steve Cohen. He's talking to Scott Boras at 3 o'clock in the morning, breaking this news, when ESPN is just finally putting an article up at 9:46 in the morning after Jon Heyman had it 6 hours ago. So maybe a little bit of credit on that one. Let's see here. It was Torrey. He did not. Okay, so Buck did not get a championship with the Yankees. So maybe last year you had Dusty finally win one. Next year you'll have Buck finally win one. We'll kind of run that through the gamut. Ratchet, who has a worse free agent loss record, Boston or San Francisco? It's a great question. Man, Boston or San Fran? The problem with Boston is that it's their guys that have left. Technically, Correa was never a Giant. He never signed a contract. The Red Sox lost Bogarts. The Red Sox lost J.D. Martinez. Nate Eovaldi, I don't know if Nate Eovaldi wants to be there. Maybe I'd still lean Red Sox over the Giants, even though I know the Giants lost out on Judge. But Judge picked the Yankees, didn't pick them. He would have gotten the money from San Fran, but he chose the Yankees. Correa thing is a big. That one's gonna hurt for a little bit. Let's see. Alex Pavlovic posted and is getting hammered by Giants fans. Oh, I gotta see that. I started following as many Giants Twitter accounts as I could yesterday. Some of the stuff that had slipped through the cracks. What is he saying? Alex, what did he say? He said, good morning to anyone who went to bed before 11:38 p.m. last night, from Alex Pavlovic. Some of the Giants reporters. Again, the West Coast is waking up to the news. King, what's going on, my guy? Sorry for the 3 a.m. DM about Correa. No, dude, I didn't get any of it. I give Wardy credit because he was on. He was on it. He was up. He had to have gone to bed, right? So somehow he got it. I have to put my phone into silent mode. I usually put it around midnight. My phone goes into quiet silent mode, and it doesn't come out of it until 6:45. So I missed it. So I gave Wardy. Wardy was on it. Someone got through to Wardy, or he was night owling it. I don't know. But I know there's friends on the West Coast that maybe got through to him. I'm sure the Mets community, I'm sure plenty of Mets fans that were up at 2 a.m. just pinging the hell out of him. Unbelievable job by the Mets. Again, I think you got to give credit to the Mets. I don't think you can hate the Mets. If there's any hate to be directed, it's not to the player either. It's to the Giants. It's to the Giants and how they should have been. This you can't let this deal die. I hope that we someday find out what it was, but I just don't think you can let this deal go. Let's see. I want to check. What do we got? That didn't work. Can you please open? We're just going to see what ESPN has. See if they have anything new. Again, Heyman had in his article at 3 a.m., he got to Boras. Boras told him that there was a differing of opinion. There's no report on what it actually was. Stunning turn of events. Free agent Carlos Correa headed to the Mets and not the Giants. Shortstop agreed to terms on 12 for $315 with New York after coming to terms with the Giants on the 13th for $350. How did it happen? Change of course. Here's everything you need to know about the shocking switch. Giants' contract with star shortstop fell apart after the team expressed concerns during the physical examination, prompting Correa to reopen his free agency and sign in the middle of the night with the Mets. Before Correa agreed to terms with the Giants, the Mets had made an 11th hour run at signing him. Remember? That the memes were out there? The Mets and Carlos Correa from, what was it, 10:30 p.m. until 10:45 p.m. Carlos Correa was a Met. So that was out there. So he made the 11th hour run at signing him. The deal did not come to fruition. A week later, the most astonishing move of the offseason is one past physical from becoming a reality, and it's a staggering outcome that continues to reshape the baseball landscape this offseason. It would make the Mets the most expensive team in North American sports history, not just baseball history. He talks about the Mets, the offseason. Correa had agreed to terms with the Giants. What does that phrase actually mean? When a player and team agree to terms, they strike a deal on contract details, years, dollars, performance bonuses, opt-outs, etc. A team sends a term sheet to a player, and he signs it. But that agreed-upon contract is not official until a player passes a medical examination, which includes an MRI, blood work, and other general health tests. While it's rare, teams do occasionally flag a player's medicals, which allows for two outcomes: a renegotiation of the deal or it being scrapped altogether. And in this situation, the latter occurred. What other teams still allowed to talk with Correa, or were they allowed to talk? Until the deal is official, players still technically can talk with other teams, so there was no tampering. However, I don't know why. Now, this is me talking. This is not Jeff talking. I don't know why, but I feel like MLB, I don't know if they're going to love this. I don't know. Maybe nothing ever happens. But I also would not be surprised if we get to a point where protocols are put into place where you cannot talk to a player once that term sheet has been signed until it is official that the deal is dead. I can see there being a blackout period, similar to how when we come out of when the World Series is over, we have about a week where you can only negotiate with your players. I don't know if that'll happen, but something makes me feel like teams might want that, to be given an opportunity. The Giants, from what it appears, doesn't look like they had an opportunity to renegotiate the deal. The Mets swooped in. So does a team want an opportunity to try to work out a new deal and have a dark period after that term sheet? Just something to think about. That maybe happens, maybe not. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Let's see here. Giants' concerns were serious enough that Correa and his agent Scott Boras worried that the deal with San Francisco was in peril, and so negotiations with the Mets resumed Tuesday and accelerated rapidly. Do we know what the Giants saw in Correa's physical, and should the Mets be concerned? The specific nature of the Giants' concerns with Correa is unclear, but with the deal, as long and lucrative as the one to which he had agreed, any team approaches a physical with greater rigor. As for the Mets, each team has different thresholds for giving a thumbs up on players' medicals, but after the events of the past 24 hours, it is extremely unlikely that Correa would come to terms with the Mets without the team indicating that it expected to pass him and make the deal official. CD, thank you for the donation. Thank you for that super chat. Wonder if Yanks collusion rumors were true about Mets not going for Judge, because if Mets were going to spend this, why not go after the biggest bat in Judge? The whole collusion thing, CD, thank you for the donation. If they wanted to find that, you have the ability to ask for phone records, email records, to make sure that there was, and you can't, listen, you delete a text, it still exists, right? You're not clean if you just delete a text. It sits on a server, right? The email sits on a server, even if you delete it. So there is the ability to dig it up if there is collusion. Nothing came out of it, so I'm going to go with the findings that there was no collusion between the Mets and the Yankees. Mr. Mike 95, thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. Martino on SNY said that essentially Boras was pissed and didn't want to do any more business with San Francisco once the physical wasn't passed. That's, I believe that. And again, the Giants. Listen. That's another element to this. Scott Boras, the biggest agent in the game, has the biggest players, has a sheet of basically 2 all-star teams worth of players. Is he going to feel comfortable doing business with you? Is he going to shut you out? You can't have this happen. You can't. So this is just this is not good news for the Giants moving forward. Not good news. Also, Boris had walked away from the team and deal once their physical issues similar with Kumar Rocker to the Mets deal. I mean, it's a good point. That is where, if you are a team, you would almost want a 7-day blackout period after the term sheet is signed. Because if the agent is pissed off, if you still have to wait 3 or 4 days until you can negotiate with another team, that gives the agent some time to cool off and work out a new deal. Because the agent, as pissed off as he's going to be, is still going to have to do something. But there is no dark period after the term sheet is signed. I'm bringing that up only wondering if that is something that Major League Baseball or owners may push for to kind of secure themselves, to give themselves a safety net in case this happens again. This is not something that's happened before, and usually things don't change until, or there's no reason to change anything until something happens and you're like, oh, I don't like how that played out. How many owners might be a little uncomfortable with how this played out and don't want to have to go through this on their own? I don't know. Let's see. But interesting, Boris wanting nothing to do with it. Has anything like this ever happened to MLB before? Nothing of this magnitude, no. Differences of opinion on medical information aren't infrequent, but they tend to be more with draft-eligible players, most famous being Kumar Rocker, who went to the Mets with the 10th pick in 21, agreed on a $6 million deal, but the Mets did not offer him a contract. Rocker was taken by the Rangers in 2022. Where can the Giants go from here is where the ESPN article sort of leaves it. Where do the Giants go from here? Listen, nothing is going to fire up the fan base. Michael Conforto, Jerickson Profar, does that interest you at all, Giants fans? I think the answer is a resounding no. No, it is not. So that is one of the issues moving forward. Jay Hunt, 89. Yep, we do have anybody that is curious. It is going to be third base for Carlos Correa. That is going to be his spot moving forward with the Mets, and it's going to be his spot for some time. Great shortstop. Great shortstop. We've seen this before. We saw Yankees with Jeter and A-Rod. A-Rod moved to third. We're seeing it here again with the Mets, with Lindor and Correa, with Correa moving to third. So we've seen this in the past, and here we are back again. He's a great shortstop, but he's going to play third. And I am kind of interested in that. Guys, this is interesting. I am kind of tracking this as well. We're only 54 subscribers away from 34,000. We're only 54 away. So if you have not subscribed, please do so. Baseball is one of your things. I think you'll want to come back here anyway. So make sure to subscribe if you have not yet. And, of course, hit that like. Let's keep that like train going. We are over 600 likes, so thanks to everybody. Make sure to vote in the poll as well. We are over 1,000 votes, in the poll. Is the Mets spending good for baseball? It has gained a point. We are up to 61% saying yes. John, I am not in Canada. No, I'm not. I am in Maryland. Is the Mets spending good for baseball? 61% say yes. Again, today, baseball is going to be on the radar, for better or worse. Baseball is going to be on the radar. All the free agent pieces are off the board. It is a few days before Christmas. It's December. Spring training is like 68 or something days away. Opening day is 99 or 98 days away. Baseball is going to be on the radar. Baseball will be brought up, I would assume, on Le Batard's show, on maybe even Pat McAfee's show. One of the biggest talk shows going right now. McAfee, I could see him bringing this up. And that's a heavy football show. Baseball is going to be on the radar today. It'll be the lead on all of the sports talk shows as we go on. Rich Eisen and Dan Patrick and everything that's on ESPN. If you watch any of those, it's going to be the lead. So that is good for baseball. All of that publicity here in the middle of December. Ratings-wise, this should put the Mets' ratings up, right? The Mets are on Sunday Night Baseball. The Mets are on Fox. The Mets are on wherever, whoever, whenever. The Mets are going to be a traveling show that you're going to be interested in seeing because so many of the greatest players are on that team. So I think that is going to be good for baseball as well. The Mets are going to come to your city. and you're going to want to see them. Your ticket sales will go up when the Mets come to town. So is this good for baseball? I'm with the 61% that say yes. Is this good for the Pirates? Is it good for the Nats? Is it good for the A's? Is it good for those teams? Maybe not. Maybe not. But those owners are in a different mindset, right? Those owners looking at it like a business. Those owners are not looking at it like a fan with a passion. They're not looking at it through passion lenses. They're looking at it through a business lens, and they want the sheet to balance right. Steve Cohen could lose $100 million this year on the Mets, and I don't think he cares. He's a billionaire. $100 million? I'll write it off. I'll write the Mets off on my taxes as a loss. Yes, Paul. Correa and Lindor are good friends. And you'll see them play on the left side of the infield for the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic, and then they'll hop a plane and go play their games in Queens together. So that you're going to have the left side of the Dominican World Baseball Classic team out there for the Mets. So you have a good relationship there between those two. This is a great job. Great job by the New York Mets. Again, Puerto Rico. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, King. Thank you for correcting me on that. Puerto Rico, not Dominican Republic. I don't know why I swore I heard John. I swore I heard John Morosi say that, but that's obviously far from right. Thank you for correcting me on that. Let's see. I want to see what else going on. Again, thank you guys for correcting me on that. Today's a good day for Chime to dump Devers and when he won't be buried in the news. Trevor, that's a very interesting point. That's an interesting point. What can owners do today that they can slide in underneath this Correa, Mets, Giants situation to be off the radar? It's a very good question. That's a very good question. Jay Hunt, what part of Maryland? I am about a half hour south of Baltimore. I am in the Annapolis area. Call it 24. Can't believe the Giants took this big of an L. I mean, I'm with you. This is a bad job. I don't know. This is why I feel like the Giants have some explaining to do. They may not. Somebody put it out earlier. According to HIPAA, you don't have to share medical records and medical documents. It would behoove the Giants to give their fan base something, understand why their big free agent offseason splash just completely fell apart. I think it would be smart for them to do that. I don't know if they will. But was this ownership saying, no, we're not doing it? Was this the general manager saying, ooh, no, sorry. Where did this come from? Where did the direction come from? I would love for the Giants to put out a press release and identify who said no. Who is this on? Because right now, Farhan is going to be, I think, the scapegoat. But if they can put out a press release that says that ownership was uncomfortable with it, then maybe that takes some of the heat off of him. Jay Hunt, you're in the Pasadena area. Yeah, it's about 10 or so minutes up the road. Yeah, man. Pasadena, Glen Burnie, Brooklyn, not the New York. Yes, there's a Brooklyn, Maryland, right next to Baltimore. Now that Correa is a Met, the Mets don't suck. Call it 24. Well, yeah, I mean, there you go. I don't know if I don't think they sucked before, but I see what you're saying. Sledge 420. The Mets are moving Correa to second and trading Devers to play third. That's the next thing, right? And then they're going to sign Ohtani. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Not Michael, not the ownership. Is it not the ownership? You think it's Farhan? Is it really? Is it Farhan? Because boy, that would be a bad look, a bad job by the GM. Could probably get away with a list of what they reject for. I feel like the Giants owe some kind of explanation. King with it. I'm with you on that. I don't really want to hear people complain about the Mets spending to win when the Yankees, this is Yankees way far. And there was the line of people complaining about the Yankees spending back then. You could wrap around the globe 5 times, right? Nobody liked what the Yankees were doing. So the same thing's going to happen here. People are not going to like what the Mets are doing, but some of it's jealousy. I truly believe that. A lot of it is jealousy. I wish my team would do that, and they don't. So I'm going to put up my defense mechanism. I'm putting up the defense shield, and on that shield it says HATE, hate, and I'm coming at you strong. Because at the end, behind that shield, I'm just jealous. I think a lot of that is going to be the case. And maybe you just hate the Mets, and that's a whole different thing. But Pirates fans, you got to be jealous. Reds fans, jealous. Blue Jays fans, I'm jealous. I got Rogers. They have tons of money coming in, and they don't want to spend the money. They're uncomfortable with how the free agent market plays out, and who knows what the Blue Jays are going to be next year. Jealous getting bounced out of the first round, Anthony. No, that's not it. That's not it. You know that's not what I'm talking about. The ability to constantly upgrade the team, make the team better, to not accept that, to have that happen, and to then say, never again. We're going to go out there. Jacob deGrom leaves. I'm only motivated to do more. That's what I'm talking about. To not have that happen. Be like, well, we'll try it again. We'll run it back. We'll get a couple of nice pieces and we'll try it again, and maybe things will fall our way. That's not what you want. That's what I'm talking about. That's what the Mets have done. Because no doubt about it, yes, the Mets fell short. And I've talked about this. Just because you have the highest payroll does not mean you're going to win the World Series. It doesn't. There are so many. Some of the best talent in baseball right now are on cheap deals. They're in pre-arbitration. They're in arbitration. Or they signed the 6 or 7 year agreement that bought out the first 3 or 4 years of arbitration and then the first 3 years of free agency. And it's like a $150 million deal over 7 years or something like that. I know there's also the Tatis deals and the Julio Rodriguez deals. But there are teams that are able to work this in their advantage. Some teams have not been able to do that. The teams that have been able to do that, the Rays come to mind, Cleveland comes to mind. Those are teams that can still combat this because just A, make the playoffs. B, if you're hot, you can get something done. The Padres were on fire when they took on the Mets. And it didn't matter that they had to go cross country and play on the road in that first round. It didn't matter. They were on fire. So you get a hot team, you get a first round series. If you lose that first game, your backs are up against the wall. That's why I say, Mets, you got to get out of that first round. Let's see, Kingstow. I think I love deGrom more now than I did when he played here for pissing off Cohen like Mats did. Baseball nerd, what witchcraft did the Mets have to pull to make this move? All they needed was the Giants to be uncomfortable with the physical, and that's all it took. John, I don't understand how, if you're in Maryland area, why your team is not in that area. How did Toronto become your team? Quick answer to that is I grew up in upstate New York. I was 20 minutes from the border. I was 20 minutes from Kingston, Ontario. If I wanted to go to a Major League Baseball game, the closest games were Toronto. It was 3 hours, about 3 hours to get to Toronto, or we could go down to New York, and that was a little bit further. And so we went to Toronto games, and that's how. My dad took me to a Blue Jays Orioles game. My dad was an Orioles fan, and I decided to be a little jerk and root for the other team, and there you go. Let's see. Mets struggling bad after that Atlanta series. Just felt like, right, they lost momentum, they lost their steam, something they lost, and then the Padres were feeling good, and they got, and it just, that's why, just because you don't win the World Series doesn't mean you're not good. If you hate the Dodgers, you love how it went for them if you hate the Mets, you love how it went for them. If you hate the Braves, you love how it went for them in the postseason. But just remember, it's hard. It's hard to win the World Series. You got to play a lot of games. This is not like 15 years ago, 20 years ago when you had to get through 1 or 2 rounds, and then you were there. There's a lot of teams. There's a lot of games. There's teams that are hot. You run into a buzzsaw of a team that has 10 less wins than you, but they're locked in a little bit more than you are at the moment, and you're in trouble. And if you get over one of those, you got another one, and then you got another one, and then you get to the World Series. That's why you got to get out of that first round. You need to play less games. You need to play less games. Sledge 420 is feeling good about it. I think you should be. Ratchet, so you watched an Orioles-Jays game, became a Jays fan, and lived close to Baltimore. Yeah, that's how it worked. That's how it worked. But I spent so much time in New York State. Whether I was in Watertown, New York, Syracuse, New York, Rochester, New York, I was closer. That's where I grew up. That's where I went to college. That's where my first jobs were. That's where everything happened, was up there. And then we moved down here about 15 years ago. Oh, let's see here. Again, we are hanging out with you guys. I am enjoying. I'm just enjoying the conversation today, everybody. Thank you for coming in again. Only 45 subscribers away from 34,000, so I appreciate everybody that has subscribed today. If you are just finding me for the first time, please subscribe. Please subscribe and come on back. Hang out with us. Stay with the channel. Hayden, how are you, my friend? Mets YouTube content creator, Mets Talk with Hayden. Mets fans, if you haven't discovered him yet and you're looking to grow that community that you're a part of, definitely check out Hayden. Hayden, welcome in, my guy, and congratulations to you and your team. And yes, I did go to college. I just barely made it through. I took as long as I possibly could. I did not want to come out into the real world. I fought it as much as I could. I took the extra year. I had the extended remix version of college, but I got it done. What is my full-time job? Ross, this is my job these days. I don't have a full-time job. I do this, and I have 2 kids. So when they're at school, this is what I do. Anybody looking for more behind the curtain, I'm a dad with 2 little kids. I watch them, and then when they're not here I am. So that's how that works. Let's see. Craig, I like how granular we're getting about where Jimbo lives. Can you tell us your exact address? Also, do you have any good snacks? I gotta go to the store. I'm running out of snacks. Let's see. John, maybe we'll get there one day. I think as more people care about that stuff, then, sure, yeah. We'll get in there. Living the dream. Bumps, it's special. I'm lucky to be able to spend as much time with the kids as I can. Let's see. The trophy husband life, Eric, that's what you got to do. It's what you got to find. You got to find somebody that can bring in the money, the big money, to cover all the big stuff. And then you make a little bit of scratch here and there to help out to keep it going. That's basically what it is. Paul, has to be ownership. No employee makes a decision without consulting ownership. I'm with you on that. I do feel like this has got to be. I know Michael, you're in here saying it is Farhan's deal. I still feel like ownership's going to have some say, right? Aren't they? I don't know if we'll ever. Truly find out. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But I feel like ownership had to be included, right? To get the approval to sign the deal or to get the approval to kill the deal. I don't know. I just feel like ownership to some degree, and I think it's a group, right? But there's still got to be, I don't know. I feel like ownership is somewhat involved. If ownership is not involved and this falls apart on his watch, that's a really bad look. That's a really bad job. The payroll, Wolf Boy, the payroll for the Mets, we are looking at including the tax, the tax penalty, which is $111 million alone. The payroll is about $500 million for the Mets, and we know they're not done yet. Melbster. As a Yankees fan, Mets are shocking me. Steve Cohen took over as owner and is the new George Steinbrenner of Queens, buying and spending so much. Mets should have signed a different player. I think that you're seeing that same motivation. If you experienced the George Steinbrenner era, now he was much more abrupt. He was a rougher character to deal with. He had a brashness about him. Steve Cohen kind of has a jolliness about him, right? Does anybody get that? I get that feeling. Steve Cohen has a jolliness about him. Same thing. Steinbrenner wanted to win, was going to do whatever it took. Didn't matter. Was going to sign the players, was going to trade for the players, going to do whatever it took. And you're seeing that with Cohen. That is what it is. And if you're a Mets fan, that's the life you've been waiting to live. You're in the biggest market in the country. You got a billionaire owner. If you can afford the Mets, you should be able to afford to spend out like crazy on players. And if you lose $100 million on this deal, Steve Cohen, write it off on your taxes. You're a billionaire as it is. You'll be fine. Go out there and buy something else that can offset the loss of the $100 million that you lost from the Mets this year. That's the thing. If you're a businessman and you're like, I got to make sure the money balances out with my baseball team, I don't want to lose money. Screw you. Go out and buy something else that can make you money so that you don't have to worry about the $50 or $100 million that you lost on your baseball team. If you're a billionaire and you consider yourself to be a smart, savvy person, treat your baseball team not like a business, but like your passion project. Just go have fun with it and go find something else to maybe offset the loss. I can't get on him for that. George, there's the whole Liam Hendricks thing. I know that's out there. I'm buying that it's out there. That I don't think that anyone's using anyone for leverage or anyone's using anyone for negotiation. But I do only worry about taking Liam Hendricks out of that closer role, which is what he wants to do, and put him in a setup role for Edwin Diaz. That's the only thing I would worry about in that situation. You bring David Robertson in. You just got Adam Ottavino back. I know you lose Lugo. I don't know if Liam Hendricks is necessarily the answer, because I do wonder what his mindset would be if he's going out there in the 8th inning or the 7th inning. Is he going to care if he's going to be winning the World Series? He might not care. But I think the Mets bullpen might be okay without Liam Hendricks and go grab another one of those. I mean, there's still some decent arms out there on the free agent market. Go grab one of those top remaining free agent arms. Or get into the regular season, see what your bullpen looks like. You can always trade for bullpen pieces at the deadline. You might not want to give up prospects, but I think Steve Cohen's in a situation where we're not worried about prospects right now. Okay? I don't think we're worried about prospects with Steve Cohen and the Mets. If we were worried about prospects, then we would have left a spot for Brett Beatty or Vientos to play. Right now, that's not going to happen. Scott, I wonder if we'll ever really know what happened. It's a great point. We may not. We may never know what happened. We may never know what happened. Disgruntled Taco, win now. That's where they're at. Ice Queen 7. Correa has a premature arthritis, bone brittle. See, the thing about Correa's injury history is that it has sort of stopped. Since 2020, he's been pretty healthy. Has not had what was plaguing him and it's weird, what was plaguing him in his early 20s seems to have cooled down. Isn't as bothersome. Now, as you get older, you get into your 30s, you tweak something, you pull something. It takes an extra day to recover than it did when you were 23, as opposed to when you're 33. So it will be interesting to see how it moves on. But we don't know what the medical came up with, what the physical showed. The only thing we have is from Susan Slusser that it was not a back issue. Susan Slusser from the San Francisco Chronicle. So we buy that. We buy what she's selling on that front. We don't know what it is. We may never know what it is. The Giants didn't have to kill the deal. They didn't. Beatty, Vientos will be Angels by the trade deadline. I mean, you could get something good for one of those two. And now you're in a position, especially with the years that you just gave Carlos Correa, to hold on to Vientos and Beatty. I don't know. King, any other Mets fans that are here? Are you good with trading Vientos or Beatty at this point for an upgrade somewhere else? Because they're not going to play. The left side of the infield is set for the next decade, essentially. So you are, what does Mark Vientos give you? I think Beatty has higher value because A, he's a higher prospect, number one, and number two, he's a lefty bat. So Vientos is probably the guy that goes. I got to think Vientos is the guy that goes. If you end up making a trade, if you need to add to the rotation or add a major piece for the bullpen, splash trade, Vientos would be the piece that you would swing. I mean, that's my opinion on that. What would be the point? Let's see. Illuminati Gaming, great signing. That left side will be dynamic. 1,000% yes. 1,000% yes. I think so. Let's see. One has to become an outfielder. I think it's Beatty. I think Beatty is the guy that becomes an outfielder. Let's see. King, I'd still like to keep Beatty, but I don't know if it comes down to him being included in the deal for, let's say, Shohei by Felicia. Well, you've got, yes, I mean, are the Angels trading Shohei Ohtani? Then Brett Beatty, it was nice knowing you. If you can turn Brett Beatty and a couple other prospects into Shohei Ohtani, and then you get the exclusive negotiation rights, essentially. I mean, that's the other thing. If you're trading for Shohei Ohtani at the deadline, you are not only getting what he's going to give you the rest of the way, but you're also going to have the exclusive rights to try to negotiate an extension with him before he reaches free agency. And how valuable is that to you as a Mets fan? Is that worth the prospects that it will take with the potential uncertainty that he could be a free agent at the end of the year? Because you'll have the rest of the season if they're open to negotiating in season. Some players are not. Some players are. You will have a situation where you'll have that blackout period at the end of the year, about a week's time, once the World Series is over, to the start of free agency when everyone's available and it's a free-for-all. You'll have that time as well to try to get the deal done with Ohtani before anybody else. And that is extremely valuable. Let's see. Did I miss a super chat? Illuminati, again, thank you for that donation. Super chat coming in from Dave. Dave, good to see you back. You're hanging around for a while, Dave. I appreciate you. Don't forget, Epler signed Ohtani for the Angels. He will be a Met. I got to be honest with you guys. I do feel like that's the way we're going, is that Ohtani's going to end up being a Met. I just feel it. Kevin is tweeting right now, I wish I could explain how jealous I am of the Mets. And I think there's got to be a lot of jealousy right now. Sometimes it is. Jealousy is masked or disguised as hate. In this case, I think there's a lot of jealousy going around. Dave, thank you for the donation. And I'm kind of with you. I feel like the inevitability is that he'll be a Met. Because Steve Coleman's just going to keep giving him money. And Ohtani, think about this. You're a free agent. You see what's going on in New York. You see what's going on in Queens. You're like, yeah, I think I want to do that. I think that's what I want to do. I think that's where I want to go. I want to be a part of that. Roy, no team is trading for Ohtani in hopes they can sign him in free agency. It will have to be a sign and trade. Ohtani will be a Dodger. Yeah, that's a good point. You would have, with this situation, you would expect that, unlike with the Soto deal, where San Diego assumed the risk, this guy might leave at the end of the contract, that you are going to be able, whether you have the deal done or the player is open to negotiating and you know what it's going to take to get it done, and you feel like you have to have started to go down that road at the very least, because that would be the haul for Ohtani would be intense. Would be, I mean, the only thing different with the Soto thing is you had a couple more years of Soto. Ohtani is knocking on the door of free agency. The other element to this is when you start thinking about an Ohtani trade is that if the Angels know you've got an extension worked out, they're going to want more from you. Right? You almost kind of want that. It's going to be a difficult balance to strike, because if if the Angels know that you've got that extension, well, then I want all your prospects. If the Angels are like, yeah, good luck here, 2 months with him, good luck, and because of that, maybe you get less back. You see, there's a balance there that you have to try to figure out. Ohtani, Mets or Yankees, right? Carlos, I do Mets, Yankees, Dodgers. Feel like those will be the teams. Feels like those will be the teams. Those are the three that jump out the most. I think a ton of teams are going to be in on him, but it just feels like the Dodgers are saving money to be in on him. The Mets don't need to save money; they do whatever, and the Yankees will be there. The Yankees will be there. And there'll be significant fallback options for anybody who loses out on Ohtani, because Devers will probably be a free agent. Machado's going to be a free agent. So if you miss out on Ohtani, there's going to be some good fallback options. And if you're the Yankees and you miss out on Ohtani, but you've got a couple of key third base free agents available, that could work out nicely, because you're going to need a third baseman after Donaldson is done. I believe there's a mutual option that there's no way Yankees going to pick that up. So you'll have the third base position open for one of those two. Let's see. Mike, I think for Cohen, it's Ohtani or nothing. I think I agree with that. Guys, we're only 12 likes away from our adjusted like goal of 700. Any of you that have not hit your like yet, please do that now. Let's see if we can get over 700. And again, subscribe if you have not yet. Would love for you to be a part of the channel. We are only 35 subscribers away from 34,000. Only 35 away. We've gained about 100 new subscribers here since we started hanging out this morning. I do appreciate you coming in. West Coast, those of you just waking up right now to the news at 7:30 your time, it's a rough one. This is a rough pill to swallow. Let's see, King, Flip, Lindor, and Alonso, and I think that's it. Baby Joker, Lindor in front and Correa behind as the Alonso protection. Talking about what the lineup could be. That's a good question. I'm interested in looking at that as well. I cannot pull that up on the old computer device here because it will crash. We already lagged once before. I don't want to do that again. Dave, thank you for the donation. MLB can't do it. Would be restraint of trade. Players will not stand for it, and I don't blame them. Dave, thank you for the donation on that. MLB can't do it. Yeah. Let me look at this Mets thing real quick. Aaron Judge has been named. Breaking news, everybody. Aaron Judge is the captain of the Yankees. First captain of the New York Yankees since Derek Jeter. So, Correa, you go Nimmo 1. Right now, Fangraphs goes Nimmo, Correa, Lindor, and Alonso. I mean, I think you can go either. What? The webpage just did something strange. But now it's back. Sweet. Nimmo, Correa, Lindor, and Alonso. If you go, I like what Fangraphs is doing there. Going lefty, righty, switch, righty, lefty with McNeil, righty, Marte, lefty. Basically, Fangraphs, compiled a lefty, righty, an MLB The Show roster where you have all you go back and forth with the bats, and I think that's fine. I think you could do that all day. I think you could also move Correa to number 3. Move Lindor up to 2. So you go Nimmo, Lindor, Correa, Alonso. You could go either way. I think you could put Correa and Lindor together back to back, and however you want to do that. Let's see here. Yes, Paul, the Yankees are holding a press conference. You got the situation where Judge has been announced as the captain, which is the right thing to do. Michael, I don't know. Rodon got away because the Giants thought they had Correa. I really think, and maybe, I think that's a fair Giants take. But I'll say this. Looking at the deals the Giants have done for pitching this year, what they did last year, what they did the year before that, they, I think, scout very well the pitching, and they work on deals that are in the best interest of the team. With the lineup, with the offense, they'll sort of deviate from that strategy. But with pitching, it feels like they're always looking, they scout very well, and they are finding deals that are good for the team. With the bats, you got to make a splash to compete sometimes. And so I don't know if necessarily one was connected to the other. I always felt like the Giants were going to be on the outside looking in with the years and the dollars that were being thrown around. But we're not in the office. We're not in Farhan's head. We're not at the negotiating table. We could both be right. We could both be wrong. Who knows? Let's see. King, you like Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso. I can't see Correa hitting that far back, King. I can't. Listen, Buck is going to have options to do a lot of different things with that lineup. But I like what Marte could give you from a speed element at the top of the lineup, so I get that. But I also feel like you could, if you go Nimmo, then Correa, then Lindor, then Alonso, you almost have, and this might sound crazy, but follow me for a second, you almost have like two mini lineups in one if you park Marte in at that number 6 spot. And then you have almost a whole new lineup starting over again down at the middle there, where you sort of run back the speed and on-base portion, follow that up with some pop, albeit not the same kind of pop, but with Escobar, there's pop there. Alvarez, we know there's pop. You almost have two lineups in one with that. You have the top of the lineup, you have the bottom of the lineup. King, you want teams to have to pitch to Alonso, so Correa, I feel, needs to hit behind him. Oh, that's fair. But I think if you're going to do that, I think you move everybody up. I think Lindor bats second, Alonso 4. You go Nimmo 1, Lindor 2, Alonso 3, Correa 4. I think if you do that, and then you probably go McNeil or Marte, and then Alvarez, Escobar, Canna. That would be the only thing. I think you would maybe slide Marte down to move that, because I see your point though about making sure that you pitch to Alonso. I see your point on that for sure. Disgruntled Taco, condolences as well to Giants fans. Yeah, this is a bad day for the Giants fans. What are you gonna do? There's cluster Fs, and then there's this. I don't want to say the big word because last time I did that in a video, YouTube demonetized me. So we'll just say cluster F for now. Mets and Phillies are going to be fun, Mr. Classic. Mets and Braves are going to be fun. Giants and Mets are going to be fun. Mets and almost everybody is going to be a lot of fun about Mets and Dodgers. Pavlovic needs to quit posting. Is he getting crushed? What could he possibly be saying that would be getting him in trouble at this point? I mean, just where is he posting? What did he say? I'm interested. The timing of this press conference is not ideal. I don't know what that even means. No one should go to a Giants game next year. Absolutely no way anyone can defend Farhan's offseason at this point. I try to be very open-minded as a person, but there is literally nothing that can be said to change my mind. Giants fans are ready to riot. Giants fans are ready to riot. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Giants fans, this is we've never seen anything like this before. We have never seen anything like this before. So unfortunately, that's where things are at. Let's see. Jameson, bottom line is Mets still chasing after the Braves because sometime during the season the Mets are going to Met. I don't know, man. I don't know. And so here's the perfect example to go against the whole Mets gonna Met thing. Steve Cohen. Stop. It's over. Right there. I just need to say one name and the whole Mets gonna Met thing changes, because that saying really sort of just crept up over the last several years. And this is different. This is different. You're bringing in Correa. You're bringing in Verlander. This is Starling Marte. I don't think Starling Marte is a Met gonna Met kind of guy. Francisco Lindor. I don't think so. That's changing. I feel like that is changing. D. Garcia, Giants fans can cry you a river. I know. I know. John, yes, we would have if Judge was not re-signed. Let's see here. Just looking at some of this. Braves lost Swanson. So what happened to Lindor? He's not a bad shortstop. Nothing happened, Robert. He's still the shortstop. Correa is going to be the third baseman. Mets going to Met was Wilpon there. It's over. Stacy, there you go. Exactly. That was a Wilpons thing. And you want to continue it. You want to extend it because of how last year played out. Okay, I get that. That sucked, right? You had the lead. You won 101 games. You went out in the first round. That's bad. But look at what it motivated Steve Cohen to do after that happened. Look at what that did. Has anyone checked in on Hum Baby Baseball this morning? I have a feeling Eric's probably not that broken up about this. I was messaging with him, DMing with him on Twitter yesterday, and it's been some time, so maybe his opinion has changed. I need to check in with him, but I think he's going to be okay with this situation. Thank you for everybody getting us over 700 likes. We are at 717 now. If you haven't used your like yet, please continue to do so. I do appreciate it. And please continue to subscribe. We are about 30 subscribers away from 34,000. So thank you to everybody that has subscribed. I do appreciate that. Yeah, I did. Necron, I'm with you. I think Eric's okay with this. I don't think Eric is going to be bothered by it. I think that he was worried about the years and the dollars, and they're out of that. And, there's a good free agent class popping up next year. Go get Rafi Devers. Get in on the Shohei Ohtani. I mean, whatever money you tried to spend this offseason, learn from this, be motivated by it, and next offseason, go do something, go get something else done. Jameson, as a Braves fan, I say, prove me wrong, 5 times straight NL East champs. No, listen, the Braves and Mets, you guys are going to go head-to-head. It's going to be a hell of a battle. I'm looking forward to seeing it as a outside observer, not being a fan of either team. I can't wait to see how that goes down. I can't wait to watch those games. That's going to be fantastic. I just realized something. I need to double-check. Something, gang. Because I'm supposed to go... good. Perfect. Ohtani will only play in the West due to being closer to Japan. I think that there's a chance that the West Coast teams have the advantage, so might lead the Dodgers. But if the Mets come in with $100 million more, might change. They might change. We'll give you a private jet every time you want it, Shohei Ohtani, to go home if you're Steve Cohen. You can take my jet and you're good to go. Off you go. Eckerson. See, I've seen a few people with their Mets lineups putting Correa down to 5, wanting to slide someone else into that number 2 spot. And I get the thought process of wanting to have Correa back behind Alonso so that Alonso has more protection. But I think, Eckerson has Nimmo, then McNeil, 1 and 2. I still think you're going to have, I want to have Correa. If I'm putting the lineup together, Buck's going to have a lot of fun with this lineup, but I think you'll go Nimmo. If I was building the lineup, I would go Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso, Correa. That's what I would do 1 through 4. $500 million for 15 years for Shohei. Yeah, King, plus a private jet, plus another $500 million deferred to the rest of his family for the next 50 years. It's gonna be crazy money that goes. It's gonna be crazy money. Mr. Classic, you've got a $50 million a year. I mean, it's gonna be money we have not seen before. It is definitely gonna be money we have not seen before. It's gonna be crazy to watch. If you travel from Japan to the U.S., what other 3,000 miles? If you travel from, what's another 3,000 miles? I mean, it's a lot. I'll say, but again, if there's $100 million more at stake, then yeah, you'll be like, well, okay, it's going to take me a few more hours, but this is... So that's the Mets. The Mets, I think, will be able to come to the table with a very strong offer and get that over the top. Oh boy, what a day! Let's do this. We have been going for almost 3 hours. It's been a fun morning. I have a dentist appointment that I have to get off to. Have to go to the dentist. Got to take care of the teeth, right? Got to do that. I'm blurring out now. So everybody, if you have not yet, we're going to wind it down. Make sure to hit the like on the way out. Thank you to everybody. A lot of you have been here for a very long time for a lot of this stream, so I do appreciate all of you that has been here. All of you that have been here for a while, even if you just hopped in and you've been here for 5 minutes, I appreciate you coming in. Make sure, everybody, to hit that like to support the channel. Make sure to subscribe if you have not yet. Again, we are creeping up on 34,000. We're only a handful of subs away. So make sure to subscribe if you have not yet. I thank my mods that were here. I think I saw it more early. Had to take care of some business. But mods, thank you for everything you've done. My members that are here, thank you for being in. New subscribers, welcome in. Existing subscribers, thank you for coming back. I really do appreciate it. BALLCAP Nation, I salute you. Any new subscribers, what's BALLCAP Nation? That is you. If you are subscribed, you are BALLCAP Nation. You are the breathing, living force that drives this whole thing. So I appreciate you all for the support. I am going to roll. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. If anything crazy happens, I will be back. This is 3 hours long. I may, if I have time later, I don't know, because again, I got to start running out. I may try to do something a little more condensed. I don't know. We'll see what time allows me for that. Guys, thank you for coming in. Again, I do appreciate it. Carlos Correa is a New York Met. It's amazing. Congratulations, Mets fans. Again, thank you, everybody, for coming in and hanging out with the channel. I appreciate you. I salute you. Thank you, BALLCAP Nation, for the support. I'll catch you guys next time.